I just inherited one of the top 3 global corporations on Earth, and what did I do? I sold it for 800 billion to our biggest rival. Then I dropped 8 billion on 3 old swords, 10 billion on a meteorite, and 100 billion on a mine that everyone thinks is completely worthless. Look, they think I am crazy, but you and I know the truth. In 10 months, spiritual energy returns, monsters mutate, and ancient gods descend upon our world. Countless races will invade. When that day comes, paper money won't be worth a cent. Everything I am buying now will make me an overlord in the coming apocalypse. Up on the top floor of North Star headquarters, inside a massive luxury boardroom, I took my seat at the head of the table as chairman. Facing dozens of stunned shareholders, I announced I was liquidating every single share I owned. Keep in mind, North Star is literally one of the most profitable companies on the entire planet. To them, I was just a short-sighted kid, but Leonard, our third largest shareholder, just sat there with a smug little smile on his face. He told the room that kids these days have a different mindset. Taking the cash now to live a happy life is not a bad move. He acted like he was on my side, but the snake had been trying to ruin my family and steal the company for years. Hearing me offer up my shares, he was literally struggling not to laugh right in my face. Their reactions were hilarious to me. See, I have a secret. They do not. I am a reincarnator. I know that in 10 months, Earth transforms forever. Spiritual energy will flood the world, and the 3,000 great paths of power will finally reappear. The old world order will crumble, and money becomes useless. In my first life, I built North Star into a global titan from absolutely nothing. But back then, I was too slow to react when the energy shifted. I suffered through hell because of it. After 10 years of fighting to survive, I ended up as a snack for a mutated beast. Those painful memories are burned into my soul, but this time, I am reborn to change the future. I have 10 months to get ready. My first priority is turning every single asset I own into hard cash immediately. With my future knowledge, I can leave everyone in the dust. I will become the ultimate powerhouse the moment that spiritual energy hits the atmosphere. Snapping back to the present, I looked at Leonard and his mocking little grin. Uncle Leonard, you have always wanted more of this company, haven't you? Why don't I just sell all my shares to you? The room went dead silent. Even Leonard was frozen in shock, unable to believe his lucky break. Inside, he was absolutely cheering, but on the outside he didn't show a thing. Instead, he calmly asked me exactly what my asking price was for the whole lot. I did not blink. 800 billion, flat. Leonard's eyes narrowed. He knew a golden opportunity when he saw one, and he was definitely tempted. 800 billion was a steal for a company this size. He hesitated, then countered, saying he could only manage 400 billion in cash right now. Now, pay attention here, because this is exactly what I was waiting for. He offered up real estate to cover the difference. He had no idea I knew his secret. He owns this massive plot of wild mountain land. Hidden underneath it is an SS-grade secret realm just waiting to be opened. Come December, that realm will finally open up. In my past life, that single piece of land turned his family into a national superpower that ruled over everyone. I knew he was short on liquid cash. To get my shares, he had no choice but to throw in his land holdings to make the deal happen. Exactly as I predicted, Leonard pulled out his portfolio of properties and various land titles. There it was, the Southern Grand Valley. Within minutes, we closed the deal for a massive $800 billion transaction. By the next morning, 400 billion hit my account. I just smiled. Step 1. Complete. I ordered my butler to get the private jet ready for takeoff. I flew straight to London that afternoon to track down a collector named Johnson. He had 3 items I desperately needed. You and I both know these look like rusty junk, right? But these 3 bronze swords are actually ancient relics with a very mysterious past. Once the world changes, that rust falls away to reveal 3 of the most powerful, peerless blades ever forged. They combine into a legendary heavenly sword formation. I saw it myself in the past. It is an ultimate defense and offense that once wiped out millions of monsters. The craziest part? With only 3 swords, the formation is not even complete yet. It is just the beginning. You actually need 6 swords for the full power. The remaining 3 are currently held by a wealthy tycoon back home. First, I have to get these 3 back from overseas. A few hours later, I was at a London estate meeting face to face with Johnson. I did not waste time. I told him to show me the swords immediately. Johnson was happy to lead the way. We headed into his private vault. He put on his white gloves and delicately pulled a sword from a locked glass display case. As he held it out, I felt the heavy weight of history. It was over 3 feet long and completely coated in a thick, green layer of bronze rust. You could barely see the patterns underneath, but one look was all I needed to know this was the real deal. I offered £10 million for all 3 on the spot. Johnson froze. He was thrilled, but he tried to act like he needed a moment to think. I just stared at him and tripled at 30 million. He nearly jumped. He realized right then that I was insanely loaded. He tried to act deep, babbling on about the ancient history of these old blades. All I heard was him begging for more cash. I shut him down. 30 million, final offer. Take it right now, or I am walking out that door and we are finished. He knew the game was over. He realized I was not some rich fool who was going to keep bidding against himself forever. He took the deal. I tossed him my black card, took the blades, and walked out. Trust me, you and I are just getting started on this journey. Stick with me, you are about to watch a man play the ultimate long game. This fool thinks he got a bargain, but soon, these 3 bronze swords will become the crown treasures of Great Britain. Step 1 complete. I headed back to my massive luxury villa, 2,000 square meters of pure wealth. Sipping wine that costs 200,000 a bottle, I stared at those 3 swords on the table. My mind was miles away in the past. In my previous life, these swords were found in King Arthur's tomb. When the spiritual energy returned, they formed a god-tier defense against the ferocious beasts and the primordial tribe that nearly wiped us out. But soon after the energy returned, the primordial true king descended to destroy everything we knew. The people holding that sword formation, they betrayed us all. They surrendered to the primordials and slaughtered humanity. The world fell into a chaotic, bloody nightmare. Thinking of that horror, I stepped out onto the balcony. I looked down at the 10,000 lights of the homes at the mountain foot. I raised my glass and whispered a soft toast. This glass is for the nation. I wish for peace in our mountains and prosperity for all our people. The next morning, inside the 3rd floor living room of my estate, the massive doors swung wide open. My assistant Simon walked in looking sharp, followed by 3 of the strangest people you've ever seen. A scarred man with an eye patch, a smiling bald guy, and a girl whose beauty was as sharp as a blade. Mr. Arthur, Simon said respectfully, these 3 are the specialists you were looking for. He stepped to the side, instinctively blocking any path they could use to attack me. I looked at him and gave a small, appreciative nod. Simon was my shadow in my previous life. He was loyal to the very end, even giving his life to protect me against those beasts. He is the ultimate guardian. I signaled for them to sit and asked the girl her name. She flopped onto the sofa and said, "Just call me Shirley." She pointed to the man who looked like a Caribbean pirate and called him her senior brother, Thomas. The bald guy? That is her junior brother, Rocky. No small talk. She looked me in the eye. "Mr. Arthur, we already understand your mission. King Arthur's tomb is a death trap," she warned. "Our masters are out of the country and cannot help. But do not worry. We believe we will not fail you or your money." I let out a faint smile. That is good. I am not a fan of wasting time with words either. I knew what I needed. We settled on 500 million to bring back the other 3 bronze swords from King Arthur's tomb, a heavy price for a heavy task. After seeing them off, Simon stood by me, his eyes full of worry. "Mr. Arthur, do you really think these people can complete a mission this dangerous?" I leaned back on the sofa and told him to relax. Success doesn't matter. If they fail, they will have to seek out Master Oakley and Master Easton to save them. In the world of tomb raiding, reputation is everything. Now pay attention, because this is where my real plan begins. Simon nodded, understanding immediately. "The northern side is properly arranged," he said. "This afternoon at 2:30, a helicopter will arrive here to pick you up." I gave him his orders and he confirmed everything was moving smoothly. At exactly 2:30 p.m., the plan shifted into high gear. A massive helicopter touched down on the empty lot in the estate. The cabin door opened, and a middle-aged man stepped onto the grass. He wore green spiritual armor and had eyes that radiated a divine light. This was Hugh, a trusted confidant of my parents and a man of absolute power. Just like Simon, he died for me in the past life. I boarded the helicopter with Hugh and we roared straight toward the north. In less than 2.5 hours, we arrived at our destination. As our chopper touched down, several people rushed forward, led by a man in a tunic with eyes like cold steel. The moment I stepped out of the cabin, he ran over with a look of pure respect. "Mr. Arthur, we have been waiting for you for a long time." I nodded to the older man, Uncle Gideon. He was a powerhouse in the north, managing the branch and keeping the underworld in check. He was the one who set up this entire secret meeting. 10 minutes later, we were in a hotel room. Look closely, because you and I are seeing the elite generals of the North Star Group. These were veteran generals who fought beside my parents for years. They were loyal to the bone, not the company. When I sold my shares, they all decisively left the company to follow me. I looked at everyone and clarified the purpose of this secret gathering. I told them they knew me best. I am not the type of person to have courage without brains. You all understand I have a plan for everything. Uncle Gideon nodded quickly. "We understand your strength, Mr. Arthur. We have all witnessed the rapid growth of the North Star Group firsthand. But we honestly don't understand why you would sell those shares," he admitted. "That man Leonard, his greed is as clear as day. He wants to take everything from you." The others agreed. Even though they supported me with this decision, many people in the room remained silent with doubt. After 15 seconds of silence, I spoke slowly. "I cannot explain the share sale yet," I said. "Just know you will understand later. Let's not mention it again. As for the second matter, the real goal of this trip, I hope you will keep everything I am about to say strictly confidential." Everyone nodded in unison. In my past life, these people never abandoned me even facing death. I knew I could trust them with my life. Our main goal is to go deep into the northern forest to find a 1,000-year-old lightning wood. It has survived thousands of strikes and still stands firm in the center of the woods. Publicly, we tell the world we are building a tourist resort. We need a massive survey team to cover our tracks. My biggest worry is Leonard. If he tries to interfere now, it will be very bad for us. We must stay ahead. I finished talking, and Simon started the presentation. Trust me, you and I are about to see this world change forever. Stick with me here. We're looking at a massive, scorched tree that's somehow still standing perfectly straight despite being hit by lightning 1,000 times. It towers over a wasteland, having drained every single drop of life from the surrounding soil just to survive. Northern legends say this lightning wood wards off evil, having survived countless strikes over centuries without ever truly dying. He predicts it's hidden deep in the great northern primeval forest, a place where no explorer has ever returned from. Caution is survival here. Once the orders were finally given, the veteran generals moved fast to set the entire stage. A few days later, I stood at the edge of that endless green sea, feeling my heart pound with anticipation. After the energy shift, this place became home to ancient, bizarre creatures and massive surges of spiritual power. Great warriors once forged god-tier weapons from this wood, but those same legends eventually turned their backs on all of humanity. Hugh stepped forward to introduce the team, a group of hardened veterans and locals who know these dangerous woods better than anyone. They won't say a word. I nodded silently, but then I got some unexpected news from the Trenton auction house. Now, pay attention here. Simon whispered that antiquities were up for grabs, and my heart instantly skipped a beat. Right now, they're just dusty relics, but once the spiritual energy fully awakens, these artifacts will transform into priceless treasures. Since the lightning crystal was missing, I headed back to Trenton, arriving at the auction venue 2 hours before everything finally started. Word got out about these ancient items, drawing in every major tycoon. An hour later, the hall was absolutely packed. The big players were buzzing about a 5,000-year-old meteorite. That news alone was enough to set the room on fire. In my past life, most of these old antiques were useless junk once the spiritual energy hit the world. But jade is different. It absorbs energy to become spirit stones, making it the most valuable resource for any cultivator. But that meteorite they were talking about, that's what I really wanted. In the original timeline, Leonard used these meteorites to build an empire, turning his family into one of the top 10 powerhouses in the entire nation. I swore I'd get that rock at any cost. I thought it would be an easy win, but some arrogant idiot actually had the nerve to challenge me. The auction kicked off as the lights dimmed. Marcus stepped into the spotlight, greeting the crowd with a wide, theatrical smile. He thanked everyone on behalf of the Empire Group, acting like being the host for this event was the highest honor of his life. His intro dragged on for 10 minutes, and honestly, it was incredibly boring. Finally, a girl in a traditional dress brought out a colorful medieval vase that was supposed to represent the ancient Silk Road. Bidding started at $5 million. The room went wild, since collectors see these medieval relics as the ultimate dream prize for their private collections. To me, it was just a pile of clay. I knew these vases wouldn't change at all when the energy returned. After some heated back and forth, one tycoon walked away with the vase for a cool $12 million. The next item was a pair of Bronze Age jade pendants, supposedly the oldest ones ever discovered by modern archaeologists. The starting price was only $1 million, but nobody budged. They all assumed the jade was just a fake, manufactured in some modern lab. The host was starting to sweat, so I finally spoke up and took it for the minimum price. You saw that too, right? Everyone laughed at me, but they had no idea those pendants would eventually become incredibly valuable treasures in the very near future. The next 40 minutes were a total snooze fest filled with old paintings and calligraphy that I didn't care about. Then, the penultimate item finally arrived. This was the moment most of the big spenders in the room were waiting for. Marcus claimed this item was far beyond any ordinary antique. He could feel the tension in the room rising to a fever pitch. He signaled 2 girls to bring out a green bronze box, and every single eye in the building was glued to it. Marcus put on his gloves and slowly opened the lid, revealing the mysterious item hidden deep inside the box. It was a basketball-sized reddish stone that emitted a faint heat. My heart nearly stopped when I saw its unique glow. That stone looked exactly like the one Leonard used to rise to power. Marcus grinned, telling us this wasn't just a simple rock. According to the experts, this was a genuine meteorite that crashed to Earth over 5,000 years ago. It contained 80 unknown minerals. Bidding started at $20 million, with increments of at least $2 million for every new bid. I didn't wait a single second. I immediately dropped $30 million, leaving the entire hall in a state of absolute shock and confusion. Someone counterbid 32, so I jumped straight to $50 million. That's when Sean from the Horizon Group finally lost his cool. He bid $52 million, warning everyone that Horizon was the second largest group in the city, but I just ignored him and raised my paddle again. $80 million. Sean was screaming now, bidding $90 million just to save face. The entire hall went dead silent after that. Trust me, the look on his face when I hit 5 billion was priceless. Stick with me, you are about to see what happens when someone has more money than sense. Even the billionaires were speechless. Marcus had seen everything in his 30 years, but this was pure insanity. He valued that space rock at 50 million max. Sean was fuming. 2 billion was all the liquid cash Sean had, and even his father capped out at 5 billion. He screamed out 8 billion just to save face. 8 billion is a fantasy to most, and a massive hit even to the elite. But for Horizon, they could still easily pay the bill. I did not even blink as I raised my paddle. 10 billion. The room went so quiet you could hear a heartbeat. It was over. Sean turned ghost white and collapsed into his seat. Then the rage hit. 10 billion for a worthless rock? He started screaming at the top of his lungs. Everyone thought I was the biggest fool in the country, the North Star family joke. But honestly, I could not be happier with my new purchase. As I headed out, Marcus stopped me. Their chairman wanted a meeting. I did not refuse and followed him straight to the top of the Empire building. In the luxury office on the top floor, a polished man greeted me with a fake smile. I took a seat on the sofa while he introduced himself. I am Steven, chairman of the Empire Group. I just gave him a cold, faint nod. Steven was a living legend who built a monopoly on the nation's antiques. His company moved trillions of dollars in fees every single year. When the first signs of the spiritual awakening appeared, he was the first to start hoarding jade. Now pay attention here, this man owns more treasures than the government itself. He knew I wanted ancient artifacts and claimed to have exactly what I needed. Steven poured me some tea and pulled out 2 handcrafted wooden boxes. He said these items might finally meet my very high standards. Inside were over a dozen dark red pills, each about the size of a finger. They were strange, oval-shaped things. They looked like cheap props from a cultivation movie. My heart started racing. These were not trash, they were elixirs drained of spiritual energy. Once the world changes, swallowing these will make someone's power skyrocket instantly. They are pure gold. When the ancient beasts and dragons descend, these elixirs will be the only way for humans to survive. They will be priceless relics soon. Average quality at best, I said, hiding my excitement behind a mask. Steven immediately started trying to sell me on them. He swore they were special and offered me a friend's discount. 5 million each. He just wanted a connection with my family. You and I both know I was winning here, but I played it cool. I sighed and agreed to his price. I bought every single 100 pills total. Back at the estate, it was time to move to the next phase of the plan. We have 3 months before the energy returns. Strange events are already starting to pop up all over the globe. Major factions are waking up. I have to finish my entire layout now if I want to stay ahead of the curve. Next stop, North Shore. I remember from my past life that a tiny village there became the birthplace of legendary martial arts manuals. For some reason, that village was the only place these techniques appeared. It was a total anomaly. The source was a wild old man with messy white hair who everyone ignored. He was the key to everything. He used to wander around trying to sell these books for cheap. Everyone laughed and called him a crazy scammer back then. But once the revival hit, those cheap books became the most powerful cultivation techniques in existence. I had to find him. I spent 4 days eating noodles at a dusty street corner in North Shore, just waiting for him to show up. Finally, he stumbled by with a cane and a dirty bag. He plopped down on the dirt and dumped his books everywhere. He started yelling about divine martial arts and once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. I walked up and asked him for the price. The old man looked up at me and smiled. He probably thought I was just another rich kid he could trick. He said 50 per book or a discount for bulk. He practically begged me to take a look. I flipped through the pages. The illustrations and notes were unmistakable. These were the real deal techniques that would soon rule the world. I will take them all, I said, pointing at the entire pile. The old man's eyes nearly popped out of his head. He scrambled to pack them up, terrified I would change my mind. He was moving faster than a man half his age. $3,500 total, he said. He even threw in 10 extra books for free. My assistant handed over the cash. With the manual secured, I headed back home. The pieces of the puzzle were finally coming together. 6 days later, my tomb raiding team found clues to King Arthur's final resting place. Meanwhile, my scouts in the north were hunting for lightning wood. They found some trees, but nothing high quality yet. I needed something much older to survive what is coming. They promised to find the 1,000-year-old wood soon. I was not worried, I was waiting for a much bigger piece of news. My assistant Simon burst in with a tablet. Leo finally took the bait. A cold smile spread across my face. Across town, a blonde trust fund kid named Leo was waking up in a nightclub next to a girl he did not recognize. Trust me, you and I are going to watch this trap close on him. The game starts now. Alright, you and I are diving into a wild story about power, betrayal, and a secret treasure that changes everything. Leonard even wanted his illegitimate son, Luke, to take over as vice president of finance, giving him total control, which Leo simply could not endure. Leo hits a nightclub to blow off steam, but the owner, Seth, suddenly bursts into his private room with some absolutely terrifying news. Seth looks at the girl sleeping on the sofa and cries out that something horrible has happened to the young master. Leo stands up with a frown, but Seth's face is dead serious as he whispers, asking if Leo actually knows who she is. Leo thinks she's just a college student from Trenton University, but Seth stares him down, speaking with heavy, deliberate emphasis. She is actually Diana, the only daughter of Dennis, who is the powerful director of the Trenton Finance Bureau. She is the elite of high society, and Leo freezes in shock before accusing Seth of trying to mess with his head. Seth sighs, explaining that a missing person notice was issued just last night and the photos match her perfectly. Leo's scalp goes numb as he looks at the notice on the phone, his heart filling with absolute, soul-crushing panic. This is no joke. If the director finds out he was involved with his daughter, Leo knows his life is basically over. Pay attention here, Leo is so desperate that he begs Seth for help, willing to do anything to keep his family out of this. Seth flashes a mocking smile for a split second before acting serious, telling Leo that their hands are tied too. Seth pretends to think for a while before suggesting that they might not be able to hide this forever. There is a way, he says. Diana loves antiquities, so if Leo gives her something rare, she might keep the secret. Leo is a collector himself, so he nods instantly, trusting Seth to arrange a meeting to settle the score. Seth tells him to act like nothing is wrong and just wait for the signal to move forward with the plan. A few days later, the elegant Diana arrives at Leo's house wearing a long purple dress with her hair flowing down. Leo puts on a desperate act, offering to let her take whatever she wants from his private collection of treasures. Diana sits on the sofa and thinks it over for a moment before finally nodding to see what he has. He leads her through the hallways of the estate until they reach a massive, magnificent room filled with historical artifacts. The collection room is over 600 square meters, packed with ancient swords and calligraphy. Leo looks incredibly proud as he shows them off, but Diana remains silent. These items are precious, she says, but they simply aren't old enough for her refined taste. She wants Western Han-era goods. If he has nothing better, she warns him that there will be severe consequences. Panicking, Leo tells her about a mysterious treasure he bought from a temple in Tibet that he almost forgot he even had. He wipes sweat from his forehead, opens the corner safe, and pulls out a box containing a finger-sized, pitch-black Bodhi seed. Leo explains that a high monk in Tibet told him this rare seed was special and would one day shine brilliantly. You and I can see she is disappointed. It looks like a plain seed, but wait until you see what it really is. Leo insists that even if it looks withered and ordinary right now, there is definitely something special about its hidden power. Diana is impatient, but she agrees to take the seed as a bribe to guarantee his secret stays safe. Leo hesitates because he feels a strange affinity for the item, mentioning he bought it for a very high price. Diana just gives him a cold, deadly glare that makes him cave in and give it up immediately. Fine, he says, as long as she promises to keep quiet about that night, the mysterious Bodhi seed is hers. Now watch this because that seed just ended up in my hands, and I know exactly what it is really worth. Once the spiritual energy revives, this seed will become a god-tier treasure that will skyrocket my own cultivation. My assistant, Simon, reports that a high monk told Leo this seed would shine at a special time 3 years ago. I need to find that monk. Tomorrow morning, I am flying straight to Tibet to uncover the secrets of these useful treasures. I keep the plan a secret and head straight to the source of the Bodhi seed, the Dragon Cliff Temple. Looking at the sign in front of the gate, my heart stirs as I realize I have finally found it. I remember from my past life that this temple was the very first place targeted by the beasts when energy revived. But the monks here used ancient ruins and the abundant energy to hold back the monster hordes for a long time. They resisted the monsters and the primordial tribe for 3 whole years until a king-level powerhouse finally leveled the entire temple. I suppress my emotions, adjust my clothes, and step through the gate where a monk in red robes greets me. He asks if I am here to pray or listen to the scriptures, and I smile as I pay my respects. I am here for the scriptures and prayer, and you and I are about to see if this great master can change my fate. Trust me, you and I are about to see how a simple temple visit changes the entire world forever, and honestly, it is absolutely wild. Inside, an old abbot in a red robe was preaching to over 30 monks, all sitting in deep silence and focus as they listened. I slipped in unnoticed and listened for 40 minutes until the temple bell finally rang, signaling the end of the long scripture lecture. The hall cleared out, leaving just me and the master alone. I didn't waste time. "Greetings, great master," I said, getting straight to it. I told him Arthur needed guidance on a very pressing matter. The abbot just smiled at me and gestured for me to continue without hesitation. He told me the temple doors hold no secrets. I asked about the withered seed he gave away to a young man 3 years ago. Fate brought that seed to me, and I needed to know its true origin. The abbot pressed his palms together in a very calm manner. He said I clearly had a strong affinity with it, explaining he simply found that mysterious seed while he was walking on the mountain. The young man had a connection to it, so he gave it away, even though the boy insisted on paying for the gift back then. He claimed its destiny now belonged to me. I felt a pang of disappointment. There were no real clues to be found here after all. I thanked him and prepared to leave. There was nothing left to say, or so I thought as I stood up to walk away. Now pay attention, because this is where the abbot stands up and reveals that my visit today was actually planned by destiny itself. Then he dropped a bombshell. He predicted that one day, Dragoncliff Temple would need my protection. My heart skipped a beat at those heavy words. My eyes widened in shock. This old monk had actual foresight. Did he already know about the coming spiritual revival and the absolute chaos ahead? He smiled, saying it was just a guess, but he had one more gift for me if I followed him to the back mountain. I followed the abbot to a steep cliff behind the temple where the cold mountain wind howled all around us as we walked. He asked what I thought of the terrain. Looking down, I saw the mountain ranges twisting and turning like a giant, coiling ancient dragon. The abbot didn't say a single word. He just smiled and pointed toward the massive, jagged mountain peaks looming high above our heads. I looked up and froze. The peaks looked like a dragon soaring into the heavens. I asked the master what this all really meant. He explained he found a mysterious item here years ago, but its secrets were too profound for a simple monk like him to grasp. He pulled a pitch-black, dragon-shaped stone from the dry grass and handed it over, saying the stone and I shared a deep affinity. He asked for one thing in return, that I save this temple and stop it from turning to dust when the end finally comes. I was stunned. This high monk clearly knew the world was about to change. I gave him a firm nod, acknowledging his heavy request. I gave him my word right then. If that dark day ever comes, Arthur will be here to protect this sacred place with everything. Then I told him the real truth. I wasn't just here for the seed. I wanted one more treasure, even if asking for it made me look greedy. Surprisingly, the abbot didn't take offense. He didn't even think I was being greedy. He just stood there with that same peaceful smile. I asked for the unbreakable rope, the one that fire, water, and even the sharpest blades on earth cannot destroy, no matter how hard they try. Let's pause here. You can feel the mood shift, right? He looked at me like the very fate of the entire world was on the line. He asked if I had truly thought this through. I looked him right in the eye and gave him a very respectful, firm nod. He stared at the dragon-like mountains for a long time before finally making his decision and speaking with a very slow, heavy voice. He warned me that this rope carries heavy karma. Once I used it, I would be tied to its destiny and consequences forever. He told me to never forget my original path. I promised him right then that I would not let his high expectations down. My past life memories confirmed this temple was ancient, standing for over 1,000 years. It had survived countless wars, yet it still stood taller than any peak. Once the spiritual energy returns, everything here is going to change in a heartbeat, and the world will never be the same. The mountains will transform into a living ancestral dragon, while a tiger's roar literally shakes the very heavens and the earth below them. The temple will soak up heaven's energy, becoming a holy fortress against the madness and the monsters that are coming for us all. It would become a sanctuary, holding out against endless waves of savage beasts and primordial tribes for many, many years to come. Later, in the meditation room, he handed me a 2-meter rope. This was the exact treasure I had been searching for all along. I held the rope, testing its weight. Besides being incredibly stretchy, it looked like a totally normal piece of equipment to the naked eye. But the energy coming off it told a different story. This was a legendary treasure from the coming era of revival. I thanked the master. I swore that if the temple ever fell into disaster, Arthur would step in. The abbot just closed his eyes and sat in silence. I stood up, walked out of the quiet room, and started the long journey back home with my assistant by my side. But as I walked away, a monk entered the room and made a tragic discovery. Master Fabian was gone. The light of the temple went out. The news of his death sent shockwaves through every temple in the nation. When the word reached me back in Trenton, my heart truly sank. Fabian knew his time was up, and you and I are witnessing the moment he finally let go. His work on Earth completely finished. Alright, you and I are watching the clock 1 month just vanished. Using past life memories, I burned through tens of billions, hoarding ancient artifacts until they filled an entire room. My preparation for the end was finally starting. Word traveled fast. All of Trenton was buzzing about me, blowing through over 100 billion in cold, hard cash. I went from North Star's star entrepreneur to a reckless loser in just 2 months. My public image was completely trashed in everyone's eyes. Simon just stood there, reading all the nasty comments about me off his tablet. I knew all this slander was fake. Either my rival Leonard was pulling the strings from the shadows, or greedy reporters were just desperate for some traffic. I didn't care. They pumped the stock prices while I just sat back, swirling my wine. My heart was as calm as a frozen lake surface. Leonard was a total joke. No vision, no guts, and definitely no strategy. He was not built for the chaos that was coming. These corporate sharks only cared about quick profits and short-term waves. With Leonard at the helm, the North Star Group was headed straight for a cliff. But none of that mattered. In 6 months, all this money and these massive corporations would be nothing but worthless scrap paper. I smiled mysteriously at Simon and told him to use every media resource available. I wanted him to invest heavily to push this wave of hate even higher. Let the fire burn. Simon looked confused and full of doubt, but he knew better than to question me. He just nodded and left. My plan was actually very simple. I needed a massive distraction so I could focus on finding the millennium-old lightning wood in King Arthur's tomb without anyone watching. Watch closely, it's better to be seen as a fool than a threat. I needed that loser image to stick. When the end finally arrives, no one will notice my real moves. Soon, 10 live stream platforms and 8 social networks were blasting news about my reckless spending. It was working perfectly. Every blogger was trashing me for selling my shares and wasting my fortune on junk. They thought I was completely insane. I went from being the nation's top business genius to its biggest, most regrettable disappointment. The internet was mocking me, but I just sat there smiling faintly. Their insults were exactly what I needed to succeed. My goal was achieved. From now on, the name Arthur will be tied to that loser image. Even if I do something strange, nobody will pay attention anymore. With my cover set, it was time to prepare for the coming apocalypse. I tapped my touchscreen and ordered the system to open the files on an abandoned mine in Winston City. We headed to the site, once the biggest mine in the city, and met the guy in charge in a small guardhouse. This was Uncle Victor. He used to be a big shot around here until a very strange event happened. The special ore just stopped. The mine went bust, leaving him with nothing but a massive land lease to pay in full. He lost everything overnight. His house, his wife, his friends, all gone. He hit rock bottom in a heartbeat. Nobody wanted this dead mine, but Victor stayed here day after day, still hoping for one more lucky break. I looked at the broken man in that shabby room and offered my hand. It was time to change his life. He looked suspicious, but shook my hand anyway. He apologized for the cramped room and told me to take a seat. He asked a kid named Dave to make some tea. The teenager just put his phone down and started boiling the water. You and I saw that look in my eyes, right? This kid Dave, he was born with divine strength and possessed boundless power. In the future, he will be the hero protecting the entire city from ferocious beasts with his extraordinary strength. Victor said the kid was just here for work experience. He had no idea what Dave was actually capable of. Victor just smiled and offered me a cheap cigarette before lighting his own. He told me I looked like a boss and asked why I was in this dump. I lit up that low-quality cigarette without a second thought, blowing out a smoke ring like a seasoned veteran. I told him I knew his story. The former overlord of the mining industry, ruined by a freak accident. He spent 10 years and his entire fortune clinging to this dead mine. He never gave up on his life's work. He got defensive, his eyes turning sharp, telling me to leave if I was just there to laugh at him. I told him he was wrong. I actually admired his perseverance. I offered $10 billion for the mine, provided he kept the rights to manage everything himself. All operations would stay with him. Plus, I would provide another $20 billion in cash for him to use however he wanted. Victor was stunned. He looked at me with complex emotions, wondering if I was actually insane or just mocking him. Spending $30 billion in cash sounded like an absurd fairy tale to him. I just smiled and whispered my name Arthur. He jolted, realizing I was the nation's top prodigal son. $10 billion for the ownership, and I would give him 10% of the shares back. A simple deal. He had 5 months and $20 billion to build a brand new mine. After that, he would still get his dividends. And Dave, he's hired too. Trust me, you and I know this is the deal of a lifetime. Alright, you and I are about to watch the ultimate masterclass in how to outsmart a room full of snakes. Once the spiritual energy kicks back in, this old mine is going to churn out spirit stones non-stop. It is a total gold mine. Between the secret realm and this mountain of energy and artifacts, I knew I would blow my past life completely out of the water. With the deal done, I spent 3 days motivating Victor. Time had crushed his spirit, but I got him focused on rebuilding the mine. Victor asked what the business plan was since the mine was empty. I didn't give away the secret. I just told him to gather reliable men, build high walls, and clear a concrete road straight to the city. That is all I need from you for the next 5 months. After that, I will step in and take full control of everything. Don't sweat it anymore. Even though Victor looked completely confused, he knew better than to ask any more questions. Spending time with Zoe, I realized Dave had incredible strength but a surprisingly pure soul. If I could make him my assistant, it would be amazing. Finally, I headed back home. The tomb raiding team sent word that King Arthur's tomb was found, but it was a death trap, and Shirley's group took heavy losses. She demanded a higher price to continue. Without blinking, I dropped another $5 million, but I made one thing very clear. I want those 3 swords in my hands within 3 months. On top of that, a crazy old man in Northshire called. He claimed he found a mysterious manual but insisted I visit him personally. There was just one thing I had to deal with before leaving town. Over the last half-month, 9 massive corporations sent me over a dozen invitations. That evening, at Leonard's villa, over 20 of the most powerful corporate leaders in the city were waiting for me. The only reason they were so desperate to meet was the spoiled, rich brat image I had carefully built for myself. Now pay attention because this is the trap. Leonard teamed up with the bosses to collect a bunch of expensive junk, hoping to exploit my hobby and bankrupt me for good. Bosses, Mr. Arthur has arrived. The butler led me straight into the lion's den. Their eyes lit up as I walked in. I just looked around and said calmly, "Sorry to keep you all waiting for me." Leonard gave me a bright smile, acting like a caring uncle. "Arthur, be honest. I fought beside your father in the business world. I cannot stand to watch you waste your money like this." He put out his cigarette, his voice dripping with fake pain. "I even dreamed about your father recently. He blamed me for not protecting your company. I woke up crying from the shame. If you need them, I will buy your shares back anytime." He even pulled out a handkerchief to wipe away his fake tears. If I didn't know his true nature, that performance might have actually worked. "Uncle Leonard, stop. Those shares are gone for good. I'm not buying them back. My life is great right now. So, let's stop wasting time and get to the real point." I acted like a total arrogant jerk, refusing to look at anyone. Leonard just smiled and mentioned my hobby of collecting antiquities. "We have a few items here you might like. Don't worry about the price. We will sell them to you for what we paid. It's just that this collection of artifacts and land plots might be a bit expensive for you." Leonard sounded so cautious. I just barked at him to bring the items out first and stop talking so much nonsense. The chairman looked furious. If they weren't so hungry for my money, they would have probably killed me right then and there. Following Leonard's lead, everyone started showing off the ancient items they had gathered. Inside, I was absolutely losing it. Rare jade, snow pearls, and even plots of land that held secret realms. I stayed stone-faced though, acting unimpressed while I criticized every single treasure they showed me. While I picked them apart, the bosses were sweating. They were terrified I wouldn't take the bait and their plan would fail. After 2 hours, I leaned back and sighed. "I thought you guys had something good, but this is it. Name your price." You and I both saw that coming, right? 200 billion for junk, but wait until you see the payoff. The whole lot was barely worth 50 billion. They were ready for me to fight them on the price. Everyone held their breath. Suddenly, I gave them a cold smile. "Pack it all up. We will sign the contract within 7 days. Then, I walked out. After I left, the room erupted into mocking laughter. Back at my estate, I told my assistant to handle the minor paperwork. I had a trip to North Shore to make. I needed to see what manual that crazy old man was finally going to show me. When I saw the old man again, I was stunned. His hair was perfect, and he was wearing a high-end designer suit. His shoes were polished, his watch was worth $1 million, and he had a full squad of bodyguards behind him. "Mr. Arthur, right this way." The old man gave me a massive smile and reached out to shake my hand politely. He wasn't a street beggar anymore. Now, he was a wealthy bachelor, living in a luxury villa and driving a supercar. He led me inside and cleared the room. Then he poured a glass of premium brandy and asked me to have a taste. I told him I was only there for the ancient heavenly book he mentioned. He nodded, walked over to a safe in the corner, and pulled out an old book with yellowed pages. I grabbed it and looked at the cover. It said, "Classic Heavenly Book, Volume 1. So what do you and I take from this? Knowledge is the ultimate weapon when you're reliving your life." Alright, stick with me because you're about to see how a low-level cultivator used a forbidden book to fight legendary king-tier beasts. Even at his weak level, this book made him a total god. This was the exact prize I was searching for. I told him, same as last time, 50 million. I took the book and put it away. The old man immediately moved on to the next buyer. Spending 50 million on a dusty old book, most people would call me a total madman. But when the spiritual energy revives, this book will be worth more than a mountain of gold. Deal? The old man asked with a knowing look. "Mr. Arthur, just take it for now and pay me later." Before I left, I had to ask one thing. "Where exactly did you find this book?" The old man, Mr. Young, just grinned at me. "South Sun Mountain, behind Lucas Village." He said it was just dumb luck that he stumbled upon it. He told me to go check it out if I was curious. I nodded and headed straight out, following his directions towards South Sun Mountain. This mountain is north of Lucas Village, a jagged part of the Himalayas. It is over 900 meters high and the climb is absolutely brutal. When I reached the peak, I sat on a rock to look around. Nothing. Just an empty, deserted mountain with nobody else in sight. There was nothing but plants and some wildlife. I rested for 30 minutes and was about to leave when I suddenly saw a figure climbing up. My pupils contracted. The man had white hair, black robes, an ancient sword on his back, and a blue lotus hat. He was even carrying a Taoist whisk. On that jagged mountain path, he moved like he was flying over flat ground. The Taoist saw me and froze, clearly not expecting anyone to be there. Now watch this part closely because I recognized this man instantly. It was Master Henderson, the abbot of White Cloud Temple and a legend in the Taoist world. 10 years from now, he will slay a true king of the primordial tribe with a single sword strike, shocking the entire nation to its core. "Greetings, Taoist Master Henderson." I clasped my hands and gave him a very respectful bow. He was startled and returned the greeting with a surprised look. He said he usually lives at the Eastern Sea and rarely ever sets foot inland. He asked how I knew him. I just smiled and said maybe it is destiny. Henderson laughed out loud and said that was well spoken. He said, meeting here is destiny. Then he asked if it was true that the classic heavenly book had finally fallen into my hands. My mind raced. Did he already see the future? Does he know about the 2 heavenly books and the spiritual energy revival that is coming for us all? I knew his character well, so I didn't lie. I looked him in the eye and told him the book was indeed with me. I asked if he wanted it back. Henderson just smiled and shook his head. He said the book has mysterious origins and only those with destiny can hold it. Since I obtained it, he told me to keep it safe. Who knows? One day, the world might actually need me to use that power. He told me not to forget my original heart and my mission. I was stunned. Master Henderson definitely knew something big was coming. I hesitated for a second and asked him what was so special about this mountain. Henderson's eyes flashed as he waved his whisk in the air. Some secrets cannot be revealed yet. He said today was destiny, and if there is a chance in the future, perhaps we will meet each other again. As soon as he finished speaking, he vanished. I looked down, but in the blink of an eye, he was already gone from the mountain. You and I both know a month can change everything. While my projects moved forward, I finally got the news I was waiting for from the northern forest. They finally found the millennium-old lightning wood. The second I heard, I jumped on the helicopter with my pilot, Hugh. We reached the northern forest at top speed. In an abandoned workshop at the foot of the mountain, I finally saw the ancient timber. 3 meters tall and scorched pitch black by lightning, but it was humming with a faint gray energy. It was even more impressive in person. I was thrilled. In my past life, a major family turned this wood into an immortal spear that could shake the heavens with every single swing. I reached out and touched the rough surface of the wood. I could feel the raw power inside. This was exactly what I needed. I handed my black card to the manager. 5 million. I told him the transfer would be done tonight so his people could withdraw it. I gave him an extra million as a bonus, but I had one request. This must stay a secret for at least 3 months. The manager was overjoyed and promised me it was safe. He said his people were mountain locals who never talked to anyone from the outside world. I stayed in the north for a few more days to gather more supplies before bringing everything back to my main base in Trenton. Just as I landed, my assistant ran up. Good news from the Empire Group, sir. They have finally finished their huge collection project. They found 10,000 withered elixirs. My eyes lit up immediately. These would be crucial treasures later on, even for those who cannot cultivate. If you swallow just one pill, even a pig could reach the peak of the divine treasury realm. We had to go see them now. That afternoon, I arrived at the Empire building. But unlike before, Chairman Stephen looked very anxious. He told me he had been hearing some dark rumors. He looked at me with doubt and worry in his voice. He is terrified that the future of the world is not looking very optimistic. I didn't give him a direct answer. I just calmly asked what kind of news he had heard. Stephen sat down and shook his head. Just whispers from friends. They say a major event is coming that is going to affect every single person on this entire planet. While searching for antiques in Riverdale, he saw several ancient families appearing that never usually get involved in this business. They are all frantically collecting antiquities, which is a major red flag. That's where we leave it. You and I know the storm is coming to change the world forever. Stick around to see how this unfolds. All right, stay with me. You are about to see how a man with a second chance at life plays the ultimate high-stakes game. In my past life, this chaos started much later. But now, with spiritual energy reviving in just 4 months, the ancient families are moving early. I told the chairman not to worry. When the soldiers come, we will block them. When the flood rises, we will dam it. Avoiding the politics, I cut straight to the chase. I told him I would buy every withered elixir in this batch at the same price. Stephen signaled his team, and they brought in dozens of wooden boxes. Inside, 10,000 withered elixirs ready for the taking. $5 billion. Stephen took the deal, happy with a $4 billion profit while ignoring the shadows creeping into the world. I smiled and turned to leave, but Stephen stopped me with one final question. Arthur, he said, you have spent tens of billions lately. I know I should stay quiet, but I have to say one thing. These ancient families are not like the major corporations. If you cross them, please, for your own sake, just endure it. He clearly saw me as a friend now. He felt that I would become a major figure in the massive upheaval coming our way. It was a gut feeling he could not explain, but he swore the Empire Group would always stand with Brother Arthur. I nodded back, feeling a deep sense of gratitude toward him. In my past life, the Empire Group joined the government to fight beasts and maintain order. They earned everyone his respect. Now, pay attention here while our hero builds his stash. A dangerous secret meeting is happening in the heart of Riverdale. At the head of the table sat a man over 60 with snow-white hair, radiating a majestic aura that demanded total silence. This was Morgan, the patriarch of the top ancient family in the city. Below him sat the core members of the Morgan bloodline. For centuries, the Morgan family had rooted itself here, amassing a colossal empire and wealth that defied imagination. They once stood against the entire financial alliance. More than half the chairmen in this room were actually Morgan loyalists. After a month of effort, we have secured over 100 antiquities and paintings along with 3 mines, Matthew reported. Matthew looked at his father with pure anticipation, but the old man just glared back, asking what the rush was. The prophecy says we have 3 months. If we know, the other great families know too. Everyone is making their move now. But if we rush too much, we will alert the enemy. The other families are likely waiting for the final moment just like us. Hearing this, the Morgan family realized they had time. 3 months was enough to prepare for the end of the world. You might think the Morgans are the only threat, but across the country, the Lewis family is also watching the clock. Their leader told them not to be so anxious. With 3 months left, they did not want to alert the snake prematurely. The managers below quickly agreed, though the pressure of the 3-month deadline still weighed heavily on their chests. Simultaneously, all 10 great families held secret meetings. Soon, a mysterious faction named Oracle would begin infiltrating their ranks to start their layouts. As a reincarnator, I knew their playbook. In my previous life, that mysterious faction pushed them to hoard every secret realm in antiquity. They wanted to monopolize every resource the moment the spiritual energy revived, leaving nothing for the rest of humanity. That faction was nothing more than puppets for the primordial tribe, leading the great families straight toward their own destruction. Luckily, the government stepped in back then. But in this life, I am 5 months ahead of the entire world. I have 6 mines, an SSS-grade secret realm, King Arthur's swords, and 2 volumes of the classic Heavenly Book. When the Great Tribulation finally arrives, I am confident I will rise above everyone else. With just 2 months left until the energy fully revives, my scouts return from King Arthur's tomb with massive news. Master Oakley and Master Easton arrived at my estate that evening. These two were absolute legends in the tomb raiding world. Oakley wore a bluish-gray robe with a sword and 2 pistols, looking every bit the heroic warrior he was. Easton was more casual, rocking a leather jacket and a bushy beard, looking like he did not have a care in the world. Since they were northerners, I served up a lamb hot pot. Oakley told me they saw some strange things in America. People over there are frantically hoarding food and supplies. Meanwhile, merchants are hunting for antiquities wherever they can find them. But America only has a few hundred years of history, so they are coming up short on ancient treasures. Oakley asked if a major event was coming. I just nodded, keeping my secrets close to my chest for now. I told them something big might happen, but they would have to wait and see. Then we discussed the tomb's history. King Arthur's tomb was robbed long ago, and 3 of the 6 bronze swords were taken by an ancient captain. Oakley looked at me curiously and asked why I wanted the 6 swords of King Arthur so badly. What is he really planning with those legendary swords? Trust me, you and I are about to witness something truly epic. Alright, you and I are about to see how ancient legends like King Arthur's swords are becoming a dangerous reality. Master Easton looked away, his mind drifting. He mentioned seeing an ancient Taoist formation made of 6 bronze swords in his youth. It looked just like the King Arthur swords. Master Easton asked if I was interested in this sword formation. I just laughed. A sword formation actually existing in the real world is incredibly rare. Master Easton agreed, saying the events of September 17th were hard to explain. Formations are usually just illusions. Afterward, the 3 continued chatting about King Arthur's tomb and their future plans in total harmony. Before they left, I pulled Master Easton aside. I had to know where exactly was this Taoist temple located. He looked at me, thought for a moment, and slowly said it was near the White Cloud Temple out in the East Sea. But pay attention here, this is the part where my past life memories of that dangerous formation start to change everything we know. They left for the tomb, and I knew they'd find those bronze swords, but I had my sights set on something else entirely. Right now, that tomb near the White Cloud Temple was the only thing on my mind. In my previous life, I was drawn into an ancient Taoist tomb and saw a heavenly sword formation. It matched his description perfectly. Back then, I didn't have the time to find its exact location. Now, everything was falling into place. I remembered meeting Taoist Master Henderson before and suspected he was hiding some heavy secrets. I decided to personally head to the White Cloud Temple to find the truth. After all, a complete heavenly sword formation holds power beyond anything we can imagine. Several phone calls suddenly interrupted my thoughts, but the news was amazing. The major construction projects in the Grand Valley were finally and completely finished. Victor's Winston City mine was finished, complete with a new road connecting to the highway. The entire place was finally cleared. We could start moving ore next month. The other mines we grabbed from the big corporations were almost repaired as well. By October, every single one of them would be fully operational. I didn't hesitate for a second. I used my cash to hire 500 battle-hardened veterans to guard every major traffic point and ensure our ore transport remains safe. You and I both know the peace won't last long, because the 10 great families are finally losing their minds and sending out their elite teams. Their targets were clear: the 6 bronze swords, those abandoned mines, and the legendary Bodic Seed. Everyone with power started hunting for antiquities, and the whole nation went into a total trading frenzy. Artifacts were flying off the shelves as people scrambled to grab them. Prices exploded by 100 times, causing absolute chaos. High up in the Empire building, Stephen was feeling the pressure. He looked at the reports and sighed. He knew Brother Arthur was already one step ahead of everyone. He ordered his team to grab every antiquity they could find, no matter the cost, to keep them from the families. Back at the White Cloud Temple on that eastern island, I was drinking tea with Master Henderson. After 10 days of digging through my memories, I had finally found this place. The eastern extreme sea is a mess of scattered islands. Finding this temple is like finding a needle. I came prepared with plenty of food and gifts. Henderson lived a simple life but didn't refuse the help. In return, he shared his premium tea. He looked younger than before, almost like a sage with snow-white hair. Henderson said finding this place proved I had a special affinity with them. He looked incredibly vibrant for his age. I couldn't help but wonder if the spiritual revival was already making masters like him even stronger. I barely knew him in my past life, but now, he felt unfathomable. I decided to just be honest with him. I told him I was here because of an ancient Taoist tomb ruin I'd been tracking. Inside that tomb is a formation made of 6 bronze swords. I told him I knew it was near his temple. I asked for his help. Henderson stopped smiling, his expression turning serious as he stared right at me. He said a massive tribulation was coming and that I seemed fully prepared for it. He decided to break his own sacred rules just this once to help me. The tomb was 30 miles north. He offered to draw me a specific map. I was absolutely overjoyed. Henderson drew the location, folded the paper, and handed it over with a cryptic warning about my future destiny. He told me I had to shoulder this path and never forget who I truly am, no matter what. Those words hit me hard. I heard them before from another master. I promised to obey and took the map. I left immediately and called Hugh. I told him to grab his most trusted men and meet me at the ruins. Hugh and his veterans were experts in the wild. Using the map, they found the entrance in no time. I used my memories to lead us to the wall with the formation carvings. Finally, I found exactly what I needed, and that's where we leave it. Trust me, you and I are about to see this power unleashed very soon. Alright, you and I are about to witness the ultimate cheat code for the apocalypse. With the Heavenly Sword formation nearly complete, our hero is finally becoming invincible. Master Oakley and Master Easton just located the final 3 bronze swords. They are bringing them to Trenton tomorrow for the final handoff. My adrenaline spiked. I immediately hopped on a chopper heading back to headquarters. Only 20 days remain until spiritual energy returns. I have successfully gathered every legendary treasure from my past life and secured them within my Grand Valley Fortress. Even after 6 months of preparation, I am still on edge. I remember the absolute madness of the great families from my previous life. They will slaughter anyone to win. They will not stop until they are dead. To stay safe, I have hired 800 elite soldiers to patrol the valley. Not a single person gets in without me knowing. I even mortgaged my villa to build housing inside the valley. Total control is the only option left. Report, Mr. Arthur. 360 alarm systems are live. We have 500 mercenaries on site, each one as strong as the most elite special forces. Plus, the city security team has 1,000 men on standby, ready to deploy in 10 minutes. Simon finished his report with a sharp nod. I shook my head. Not enough. Tell Uncle Gideon to pull the highway guards and move them to the valley immediately. We need every single body protecting this place. This is the moment of truth. If I can just survive until this spiritual revival, no great family or prehistoric beast will be able to touch me. I have poured everything into this layout, leaving nothing to chance. Every treasure had its own specific purpose. I placed the 6 bronze swords in a precise formation across the valley floor. The sacred Bodhi seed, that stays on my person at all times. The ancient lightning wood and Fabian's dragon stone are staged together. Soon, I will use the secret realm furnace to forge them into legendary weapons. Meteorites, ancient jade pendants, and 10,000 powerful elixirs now pack the valley. There is not a single inch of empty space left in my entire stronghold. I even dug a massive cellar deep into the mountain, reinforced with a heavy alloy roof. This is where I will store the spirit stones later. Everything was set. I moved into the Grand Valley to finally adapt to the shifting climate. Time moved fast. National Day arrived, and the entire country was on vacation, crowding every major tourist spot. Over at a Northeast zoo, a guide was showing off the Siberian tigers. These are the world's largest cats, meat eaters that can get pretty aggressive if provoked. Stay back, kids. But then, a little girl pointed at a massive tiger and asked, "Why is it standing up?" The guide chuckled, thinking it was just a joke. But the little girl was not laughing. She was terrified. Suddenly, the crowd erupted in screams. The guide turned pale as she looked back. Now watch this, because this is where nature stops making sense. The tiger swelled up, stood on 2 legs, and roared, crushing its iron cage like paper. Terror filled the zoo. Simultaneously, the clear skies in the southwest turned black as massive blocks of ice began raining down from the heavens, crushing everything below. In Riverdale, a colossal tornado suddenly formed out of thin air, ripping through a crowded amusement park. From the mountains to the seas, natural disasters were striking everywhere. Global catastrophe had arrived, and humanity was staring straight into the abyss. But this was just the beginning. In Riverdale, Morgan watched the chaos from his window, a cold, ruthless smile creeping across his old face. Disasters? They're just a way to filter out the weak. The weak die in the shadows, but the strong, we prepare. We seize the chance to hoard every resource possible. The Morgan family will soon stand at the very top, showing the entire world what a true ancient dynasty looks like. His descendants cheered, soaking in his arrogance. Despite his age, Morgan loved the flattery. Their great patriarch was finally back. He was absolutely certain his plans were flawless. Nothing could stop the Morgan family from claiming their destiny now. I know what you are thinking. Morgan is about to lose his mind. And yeah, he does. Because as his men kneel before him, his smile completely freezes. He demanded to know what happened. A man replied that they had hired the world's best tomb raiders to find King Arthur's legendary burial site. But when they got inside, the bronze swords were gone. Someone had beaten them to the treasure. Morgan exploded with rage. Gone? Impossible. He had planned this for 10 long years and spent millions of dollars just to secure those swords during the disaster. His furious roars shook the room as his face turned purple. Everyone trembled in silence, terrified of his wrath. Useless trash. You are all completely worthless. Morgan screamed at them. Find them. I want to know who took my swords. Kill them and leave their bodies for the dogs. The man stuttered out a name. Their main suspect was Arthur, the former chairman of the North Star Group. Morgan froze. Arthur? The kid, the media called the nation's #1 loser for buying up useless junk. He realized the truth they had been played. That prodigal son image was just a clever mask for his real preparations. This kid is dangerous. Send everyone. Do whatever it takes, but bring those bronze swords to me immediately. Looks like our hero just checkmated the country's most powerful family. Trust me, it only gets wilder from here. Stick with me, you're about to see Arthur take on the 10 strongest families after stealing their most precious treasures. Morgan is turning green with rage. He can't even hold it in anymore. You're all useless trash, he screams at his subordinates. They were played like a fiddle by some brat. The patriarch stands there while a middle-aged man delivers the grim news. Spies report that Arthur has recruited thousands of war veterans and stockpiled heavy weapons. Moving now would be a total disaster for us. Morgan paces back and forth, weighing his options while everyone else holds their breath, terrified to make a sound. 5 minutes later, his voice goes ice cold. He tells them to contact the other 9 great families immediately. Tell them everything we targeted was stolen by Arthur. Our family is moving to take back what belongs to us, and those other families better fall in line. It's the same story across the nation. All 10 great families just realized they've been robbed blind by one man. Their years of planning were destroyed by Arthur in a single afternoon. Now, the 10 families have reached a consensus, joined forces to reclaim their treasures and the mines. They're already splitting the loot based on status. A message is sent to Arthur with a simple demand. Hand it all over. Watch this, things are about to get explosive. Inside the valley, I finish reading their ultimatum and tear it into tiny pieces. Inform all units. We're at stage 1 combat readiness. If they dare to show up, we fight. My assistant's eyes are glowing with a fanatical zeal as he relays the order. Let the chaos come. If these families want a war, I will show them absolutely no mercy. Until the spiritual energy revives, they're nothing to worry about. My orders are sent across the valley like lightning. When they hear I shredded the letter, the 10 families decide to go all in. They're coming for the valley, the treasures, and all 5 mines. They're sending everything they've got to force a total surrender. They expect me to just roll over. Morgan tells the others the official military is too busy to intervene. This is a once-in-a-thousand-years opportunity. It's either total victory or eternal damnation. Every single one of the 10 families agrees to act. The 10 families gather their entire strength and march toward the valley. When thousands swarm the nearby city, I receive the news instantly. My forces are ready. Over 1,000 veterans with heavy weaponry are dug into the Grand Valley, waiting for battle. From the mountain peak, I watch through binoculars as their convoy roars down the highway like an aggressive steel snake. The engines die as they stop in the valley. Thousands of soldiers scramble to assemble their weapons for the attack. I raise my right hand. High above, my defense forces lock their sights onto every target at the foot of the mountain. One command and 1,000,000 bullets will rain down. From this height, I hold the absolute power of life and death. Morgan steps out with his bodyguards, grabs a megaphone, and screams his demands up to the mountain peak. Arthur, I respected your father, but you have 10 minutes to think. Give us the treasures and we'll leave. Resist, and my 10 families will level this place until the Grand Valley is completely drenched in blood. His voice echoes across the field. 2,000 soldiers are waiting for me to break under the pressure. These are the 10 pinnacle families. They control half the nation's resources and are the strongest force outside the government. I grab the megaphone from my assistant and look down at the army waiting to slaughter us. My voice is pure ice as I tell them, take one more step and I will kill you all without mercy. You saw that too, right? He just threatened the nation's rulers, and the silence is absolutely deafening. In the entire history of this country, even back in the feudal ages, No one has ever dared to speak to them like this. They control half the world's resources, and here's a 20-year-old kid telling them he'll end them all. Morgan's eyes are filled with murderous intent. He looks at the other patriarchs, they nod, and the order to advance is given. He doesn't believe I'll actually fire. The army clicks their gunbolts and starts marching step by step toward the valley. I just sneer. They really think I'm bluffing. I give the order to fire. In my past life, these families sold out the nation to the primordial tribe. They are traitors who deserve no mercy. I'm not letting history repeat itself. My veteran troops pull their triggers without a second of hesitation. Bullets rain down like falling stars, kicking up a wall of dust in front of them. The entire army freezes in pure panic. The patriarchs are horrified. They can't believe I actually did it. Now they're trapped in a deadly dilemma. If they keep going, it's a bloodbath. Suddenly, Morgan's phone rings. He answers, and his face goes pale. Patriarch, it's a trap. Our teams at the mines are surrounded by Arthur's heavy weapons. We can't get out. And that's where we leave it. Morgan just realized he's totally outmatched. You and I know the real war is starting. Alright, you and I are about to witness the exact moment the world's power balance completely shatters. He hung up and told the stunned crowd to retreat until the Great Tribulation, as their strength would soon reach completely new heights. Once the 10 families left the valley, I issued a lethal order regarding their remaining troops trapped at the mines. Disarm them all and detain everyone regardless of who they are. This time, the 10 families lost hundreds of men at the 5 mines. In the following days, the great families and I all waited for the exact moment the spiritual energy would fully revive. On October 20th at midnight, I sat in silence. Per my request, not a single core member of North Star went to sleep. Suddenly, thunder roared from the horizon as white lightning tore through the night sky and fierce, howling winds began to rise. Rain poured down like a waterfall while the terrifying roars of wild beasts echoed through the mountains and the valley flooded with aura. Purple clouds surged over the valley as a familiar energy flowed into my limbs. I opened my eyes, feeling the return of this sensation. After 8 months of planning, the moment I was waiting for had finally arrived. The global revival of spiritual energy was here. Simultaneously, my prearranged treasures began to frantically absorb the massive flood of dense spiritual energy. The withered Bodhi bracelet began glowing blindingly as its dark outer shell peeled away, revealing a dazzling golden color that pulsed with immense energy. Now watch this part carefully. This is where the main character becomes something more than human. The bracelet fused into my brow as a voice confirmed that fusion was at 1%, an unexpected sound that made me wild with joy. This ancient treasure was sentient. Once fully fused, it would bring unimaginable benefits that would change the course of my life. I sat cross-legged, feeling the massive changes. Fusion complete. 100%. My comprehension ability has now increased 10,000 times over. As the sound echoed again, I opened my eyes calmly. I could feel the Bodhi sprout in my head, hungrily absorbing energy. In my previous life, it took me 15 years just to break through to the early stage of the divine treasury realm. In this life, with my comprehension multiplied by 10,000, it will be much faster. Here is how the realm system works. Body, tempering, vein forming, divine treasury, heavenly origin, ascending heaven, plucking heaven, and the final stage, immortal ruler. Before the ferocious beast killed me, the highest realm in the nation was only heavenly origin. With my preparations, I am confident I will surpass everyone. After absorbing the Bodhi seed, my body emitted a golden light that intersected with the purple spiritual energy of the world. I looked extraordinary. Meanwhile, the great families who had also prepared were wide awake and busy absorbing as much energy as possible. Morgan sat in the middle of a room, surrounded by dozens of withered elixirs, waiting for the energy to hit. You see that? The villain thinks he is finally winning, but he has no idea what is actually coming for him next. Energy flooded his body. His muscles bulged and the wrinkles on his face vanished as he regained his youthful, powerful form. In an instant, he felt 20 years younger and full of vitality. He exhaled, his face blooming into a confident smile. Next, I will officially step into the body-tempering realm. Arthur, I will let you live for just a few more glorious days. When I break through to the body-tempering realm, I will absolutely crush you to death with my bare hands. As the spiritual energy revived, the 10 families began pooling every resource into their geniuses, pushing them to cultivate and break through quickly. In just 1 hour, these geniuses typically entered the first stage of the body-tempering realm, absolutely ecstatic with their joy. Common people without resources only felt a small boost in strength. In the valley, I was not rushing to break through. I was inspecting the world's transformation. The secret realm in the valley had not fully revealed its true form yet. However, the energy inside was already incredibly dense. The 6 bronze swords were still quiet, likely needing a key to finally activate. My Bodhi seed increased my comprehension 10,000 times, while my bronze jade pendants transformed into tools that nourished my meridians. The millennium-old lightning wood was just beginning to transform, which will likely take time. The meteorite looked unchanged, But the biggest transformation came from the 10,000 withered elixirs I bought from Steven specifically for this moment. After absorbing the energy, their shells peeled off, emitting a strong medicinal fragrance that filled the entire valley air. Looking at the revived elixirs, I didn't hesitate. I grabbed a handful and stuffed them directly into my mouth. Holding the jade pendants, I took out the innate body tempering art manual and officially began my cultivation path. The spiritual energy felt like ice-cold juice on a scorching summer day. A chilling sensation pierced my heart, followed by a very deep numbness. I felt as if a small knife was constantly scraping against my bones, emitting a grinding sound and unbearable aching pain. My flesh tore and then knit back together constantly. With each rebirth, my skin became tougher than ever before. Stick with me, because this painful journey to the absolute top of this new world is only just getting started. By tempering my tendons, bones, and flesh, I am finally building the perfect body to endure the massive power of spiritual energy. Alright, you and I are about to watch someone shatter every rule of cultivation, survive the remolding, and you break through fail, and your path is over forever. The body tempering realm has 9 brutal stages, each demanding you endure pure, unadulterated agony. You have to succeed 9 times just to reach the next level, the vein-forming realm. In his past life, cultivators knew the secret: the more pain you can take now, the stronger your foundation becomes later. Your physical strength can vary by hundreds of times, and that strength determines the absolute peak of your future power. Since the spiritual energy revival, this world has become a survival of the fittest, ruled by high martial power. 3 minutes in, waves of spiritual energy hit him like a freight train. Following the ancient body tempering art, he smoothly blasts into the second stage now. He opens his eyes, feeling power surging through his veins. He clenches his fist and throws a light, casual punch at the valley cliff. Instantly, the rock turns to dust, causing a tremor that leaves him astonished. At just stage 1, using a fraction of his strength, he is already this terrifying. In his previous life, even stage 3 would not have been able to compare to this force. Determination flashes in his eyes as he grabs more elixirs and stuffs them into his mouth. The medicinal power dissolves, making his absorption speed skyrocket and initiating another brutal round of tempering his bones and flesh. 3 minutes later, he reaches the second stage of body tempering. His physical strength has already increased by over 10 times by this point. Now stick with me here, because this is where his obsession turns dangerous. Ignoring the exhaustion, he repeats the process with a fanatical zeal, drenched in sweat and pushing beyond human limits. A thick layer of black impurities begins to ooze out, covering his body. Finally, he reaches stage 9. A golden light flashes in his eyes, a clear sign of absolute mastery over the body tempering art. Strength surges through him like an endless, raging river. Even he cannot help but sigh in pure admiration. In his past life, this took 3 years. Now, he has achieved the impossible in just 30 minutes of cultivation today. Even the fastest geniuses took 3 days and massive resources to do this. If anyone saw his current speed, it would definitely cause a massive shockwave through the entire world. After thinking for a moment, he grabs even more elixirs. He is determined to break through to the vein-forming realm right now. To ensure success, he decisively takes 10 elixirs at once, stuffing them straight into his mouth. With a crazed look, he knows the monsters will descend soon. Rapid growth is the only way to survive. He closes his eyes and waits. Piercing pain strikes again, but he grits his teeth. Suddenly, an explosive sound rings out inside him as spiritual energy floods into his 8 extraordinary meridians. He is ecstatic. Success. He has officially broken through from the peak of body tempering straight into the vein-forming realm. By attaining the innate martial god physique, his foundational bone strength increases by 10,000 times. Even I am shocked this physique was supposed to be a myth. He is bewildered because even the peerless prodigies of the ancient families never achieved this legendary level in the past. But he does not stop. He takes out a vein-forming manual, the joyous vein scripture, and continues to push his limits using the same method. This time, it takes a full hour of enduring wave after wave of intense pain. As the jade pendants in his hand crack open, he reaches stage 9 of the vein-forming realm. This level brings even greater physical transformations than the last. His aura is now hundreds of times stronger than his previous life. The capacity of his meridians has increased to an immeasurable and terrifying degree. He slowly stands up, raising his right palm. A stream of spiritual energy gathers instantly, forming a sharp crescent shape that emits a high-pitched and piercing sound as it spins. With a casual wave, an earth-shattering explosion erupts. The valley shakes as crushed rocks fall everywhere, causing a massive commotion. "Mr. Arthur, are you all right?" His assistant's worried voice calls out from behind the door. He coughs and reports that he is safe, but secretly realizes he must be more careful next time. This vein-forming power is hundreds of times more terrifying than anything he knew in his past life. After breaking through to the vein-forming realm, he decides to pause for now. To reach the divine treasury realm, he needs massive amounts of spirit stones and new techniques. These basic elixirs simply will not cut it anymore. Even 10,000 of them would yield almost nothing now. He steps out of the Grand Valley, where Simon, Uncle Gideon, and the others are already waiting respectfully. Wait, are you guys not cultivating? He realizes they have not started, but we're standing guard instead. The top priority is to ensure your safety, sir, Hugh replies without any hesitation. Even with his cells boiling from the spiritual energy revival, Hugh stayed to protect him. His heart warms, realizing these people are truly trustworthy and loyal unto death, just like they were in his past life before. He pulls a handful of elixirs from his pocket and hands them over. Hurry up and cultivate, reach whatever level you can, and do not you dare waste a single pill. Eat them all, he commands. Hugh and the others look at him, their hearts filled with intense emotion. Even Uncle Gideon cannot hide his joy. Without a word, they take the elixirs, stuff them into their mouths, and find places to begin their meditation. He selects more body tempering manuals to speed them up. Simon, bear with the pain for a bit. Call the mines and ask about the situation over there. Simon heads off to make the calls, and that is where we leave him standing on the edge of a brand new era, gazing at the night sky. Stick with me tonight is when the world officially ends and the real chaos begins. 15 minutes later, Simon returns to confirm the disasters have hit every single mine. They have been hit by disasters too. Wild spiritual energy is flooding every single mine. Some people are already trying to cultivate, but the spirit stones need more time to form. According to my memories from my past life, I know exactly how this revival plays out. The prepared families lead the way, followed by collectors and tycoons. But on the second day, after the initial disasters, a massive wave of global chaos is about to erupt. Within 24 hours, tens of thousands of newly powered martial artists start taking their revenge. People who have been angry for years are now like wild horses breaking free, acting totally reckless. Now pay attention, this is where the government fights back. A silver-haired general gathers everyone in the capital to announce a plan to finally bring these new martial artists under control. As of today, I decree the establishment of a cultivator alliance named Dragon Ascendant. This old man was General Harrison, the director of security and a legendary retired veteran. We are recruiting cultivators at the third stage of body tempering, but above all, they need a strong moral compass. If their character is good, we will spare nothing to recruit them and protect the people. The general sweeps his sharp gaze across the room, and everyone nods in agreement. Within a single day, hundreds of murders occur. The police are fully deployed just to hunt these criminals. New intelligence shows that deep in the mountains, a massive number of mutated, ferocious beasts are appearing. It is the classic spirit of unity. When one falls, everyone else rises to help. Once Dragon Ascendant was established, countless people joined the cause to help save their country. In 5 days, the Bureau set up 8 regional branches, recruiting 300 warriors at the third stage or higher. They take immediate action, hunting down criminals and suppressing any troublemakers with thunderous, overwhelming force. A week later, the chaos was finally brought under control. The news of their success spreads everywhere. But in the West, where they prioritize individual freedom, things have fallen into absolute extreme madness. Governments are using the military to stop the crime, but the fire is too big to extinguish. 7 days later, Victor sends me some incredible news. The abandoned mine in Winston City has mutated after absorbing the energy. Irregular purple stones are appearing. You and I know exactly what those purple stones mean with these. My power is about to skyrocket past every other great family. But I also know the other families have definitely set their sights on these stones already. In my past life, this abandoned mine was the nation's biggest source of power. Once the Morgans seized it, they became completely unstoppable, leaving everyone else in the dust. When the primordial tribe descended, they led the other families to surrender and betray their nation. I absolutely will not let those families touch a single stone this time, not on my watch. I send Uncle Gideon and 1,000 armed men to Winston City. Anyone who tries to steal from us gets shot on sight. Anyone trying to rob us gets shot on sight. No mercy. Thanks to my elixirs, Gideon and the team have reached the 8th stage strong enough to sweep the region. Just as expected, the Morgans try to harass the convoy. Gideon does not waste any time talking. He crushes a Morgan family member with a single punch. The rest of them collapse and flee. After that disaster, the other families stay silent, terrified to make even a single move against us. 5 days later, Gideon returns with 5 massive trucks loaded with glowing purple spirit stones. Honestly, even I am shocked. I knew it would be a lot, but this is incredible. In my past life, I only saw small amounts. I have Gideon store everything in our secret chamber. I am satisfied. Now, I am going into secluded cultivation, leaving Gideon to manage the mine affairs. Simon, watch the families. Everyone else, keep training hard. Do not slack off for even a second. Yes, sir. I take my remaining elixirs and give them to Gideon and Simon to distribute. I do not need them anymore, but for my team, these are life-changing treasures for their progress. Their loyalty to me hits an all-time high. Now, I am entering strict cultivation at the 9th stage. My meridians are clear, allowing me to guide pure energy into my body from the world around me. Next is the Divine Treasury Realm, a stage that took me 15 long years to reach before. After tempering your tendons, flesh, and bone, this is where it gets real. You have to reshape your entire meridian system and develop your internal organs to finally unlock the hidden treasures buried deep within your own body. And that is where we leave it. You and I are about to see a god be born. Purple energy floods my soul, igniting every cell. Inside my mind, that tiny Bodhi sprout drinks it up like desert rain, exploding into a massive 3-meter tree. Stick with me, we're witnessing a growth spurt that should take centuries happening in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, a massive echo vibrates through my skull as the tree drinks deep, absorbing an incredible amount of spiritual energy. The Bodhi tree reaches its growth stage, and my comprehension speed instantly skyrockets 100,000 times over. I open every meridian, devouring spiritual energy from the surrounding stones. The spirit stones lose their glow instantly, crumbling into worthless, gray rocks right before our very eyes. Spiritual energy runs absolutely wild through my veins. It feels like my internal organs are being ripped apart and overturned. The agony is way worse than the vein-forming realm. After an eternity of pain, my mind finally clears and finds peace. My senses explode. I can hear heartbeats miles outside the valley. Then, a sharp jab hits my chest as thousands of energy needles pierce my heart. It is almost too much to handle. Suddenly, boom, an earth-shattering explosion rips through the Grand Valley, shaking the world to its core. A purple pillar of light blasts into the sky, turning night into blinding day. The spirit stones are sucked dry, turning to dust as they roll away in the wind. That familiar rush of a breakthrough hits me again. I open my eyes, and golden light flashes with pure power. A heavy heartbeat thumps in my chest, radiating massive vitality. In my past life, reaching the Divine Treasury Realm took 15 years. I did it in just a few days. Now here is where it gets wild with this endless supply of spirit stones. I am not stopping here. Confidence surges through me. In this life, I will crush every prodigy and flatten every great family that stands in my way. The breakthrough took 30 minutes, but the shockwaves, those caused an absolute commotion felt by everyone in the world. At the White Cloud Temple, Taoist Master Henderson stares at the horizon. That purple pillar of light in the valley has him completely stunned. Reaching the Divine Treasury Realm in days is unheard of. A phenomenon like this, it only happens when a truly peerless talent walks the earth. Far beyond the Great Wall, a gray-robed old man snaps his eyes open. He is shaken to his very core. He whispers to the wind, wondering who could possibly break through this fast. Who is this mystery cultivator? Could it be the reincarnation of an ancient monster? He yells for number 8, and his voice makes the entire wasteland tremble as a dark figure appears. The elder orders his shadow to find the source of that purple light. Number 8 nods, ready to move. The old man stops him with a warning glare. He tells him to stay low and avoid any unnecessary attention. You are only in the vein-forming realm, but this person is already Divine Treasury. Your mission is intel only, remember that clearly. Number 8's heart skips a beat. He spent years planning and gathering resources just to reach the first stage of the vein-forming realm. Yet someone else is already leagues ahead. He swallows his pride, cold sweat pouring down, and bows before vanishing into the shadows. My breakthrough has officially put a target on my back. Now, pay attention, the major factions are starting to move. The national government, the 10 great families, and even the mysterious northern faction are all watching the sky right now. At Dragon Ascendant headquarters, Deputy Director Carter stands with his arms crossed. He is a 9th-stage body-tempering master and is not easily impressed. Director Harrison watches the light show and pats Carter's shoulder. He needs someone on the ground to investigate this power immediately. Find out who they are. If it is a human powerhouse, recruit them into Dragon Ascendant no matter what the cost. Carter hesitates for a split second before flashing a cocky smile. He promises the director that he will bring this new cultivator into the fold. Harrison knows Carter is talented but arrogant. He thinks he is the #1 fighter in the entire country. This mission is supposed to be a reality check to show him there is always a bigger fish. Plus, if it works, Dragon Ascendant gets a massive power boost. But Carter has his own plans. He is thinking that once they meet, he will show this powerhouse who the real genius is. Back at the valley, I am looking at the giant hole I blasted into the sky. Feeling bored, I head to the north peak to test my limits. The cliff is steep, looking like it was sliced by a massive blade. I take a deep breath, wind up my fist, and let it fly. An explosion rocks the world. The cliff shatters into a million pieces, and the entire mountain begins to tremble under my power. The North Peak cliff is just gone. Erased. And right then, another massive blast echoes through the center of the valley. I spin around, feeling the air itself turn into a magical vortex. Spiritual energy is pouring out in a massive torrent. I have got to see this. The gourd-shaped valley is literally falling apart. The surrounding cliffs are collapsing into clouds of dust and gravel. The whole landscape is shifting. I am ecstatic. Could the double S-grade secret realm finally be showing its face to the world? The broken rocks vanish instantly amidst the roar of the restructuring valley. It is like the earth itself is being rewritten. I watched the walls closely as they sprouted from the ground. They are arranged in a bagua formation, 8 walls, 6 meters high, sealing the valley completely. Then the ground beneath me tears open, revealing a deep bottomless pit that swallows all the surface rubble. I suddenly realized my treasures just fell into that black void. You saw that too, right? Everything gone in a second. I can't save them now. But just as I am regretting the loss, a scorching hot aura starts rising from those deep depths. Alright, you and I are about to see something wild. I looked down into the Earth's core, where scorching lava erupted like a boiling ocean, ready to melt anything in its path. Then, to my total shock, the treasures I thought were lost started floating back up to the surface. My eyes were glued to that fiery sea below. Suddenly, a flash of inspiration hit me like a truck. This was the Crimson Flame Sea, the ultimate secret realm for forging divine artifacts. The weapons I had been dreaming of day and night could finally be brought to life right here. The lava surged from the depths, but suddenly stalled, beginning to cool as the intense heat started to fade away. I stood on the hardening surface, completely confused. Was this place only supposed to open up when a master was ready to forge? I had to test it. Right then, the 6 bronze swords plunged into the center of the furnace, exploding with a brilliant, blinding light. The other 5 swords flashed in response, vibrating with a violent energy that filled the air with the sound of clashing steel. Panic set in as I thought the heavenly sword formation was activating, but after one final shake, everything went deathly silent. Suddenly, the lava core started flowing again as the meteorite floated upward. Its charred, pitch-black outer shell began peeling away like old skin. As it drank in the spiritual energy, it turned snow-white, radiating a freezing aura that felt absolutely terrifying to the touch. Even in the divine treasury realm, the pain was piercing. I forced my spiritual power to shield me, gritting my teeth through the agony just to grab the stone and get a closer look. With the shell gone, the meteorite was transparent and sparkling, a pure source of deadly, yin-cold energy. Now watch closely, because this looks like a mistake. I tossed the stone into the lava, watching it sizzle and vanish instantly. In that valley, 2 massive forces, scorching heat and freezing cold, began to clash and fight for dominance. Minutes later, the meteorite shot out of the fire, hovering as if trying to escape, but the lava dragged it back down like a predator. It wouldn't give up, bouncing and tumbling in the flames several times before finally vanishing for good. The lava eventually went still, looking like a giant beast that had finally finished its meal. You've got to be kidding me. It's gone? I had an idea and dumped every spirit stone I had into the pit, making the lava boil even more violently. The stones drained instantly as the lava sucked out their power. Suddenly, the meteorite reacted, its very shape beginning to twist and shift within the heat. The lava literally turned into a long blade, starting to carve the meteorite. I was completely stunned. The lava was acting like a master blacksmith, using brutal, overwhelming force to reshape the stone. 30 minutes later, the transformation was finally complete. It had become a 3-foot-long, chillingly oppressive sword. Pure white and transparent, it looked like it was carved from solid ice, absolutely captivating. As I grabbed the hilt, a wave of freezing energy flooded my body. I had to dump all my spiritual power into resisting it. The Bodhic tree in my mind flared with green light. It took 10 long seconds before that icy pressure finally started to back off. The discomfort vanished as if the blade had finally accepted me. A divine tier weapon was born. Then, a voice asked for its name. You and I both know that name choice is everything for a blade. I smiled and called it Frost Pierce. It was like the sword actually heard me. It vibrated with a pleasant hum, showing it was truly sentient. I swung it once, and a wave of pure white frost instantly buried the valley, yet I felt completely fine. This was a true divine weapon, but as I looked for a test site, reports came in 7 ferocious beasts had appeared across the nation. These weren't normal mutants. Their skin was like iron, completely immune to normal swords or spears. Their power crushed the body-tempering realm, and they were faster than airplanes. They were specifically hunting cultivators to suck them dry and grow even stronger. Even the authorities were panicking, but in the Morgan building, the boss just looked at a piece of paper with a look of pure contempt on his face. The old man in the capital just sent an urgent email. It looks like they are getting desperate. These beasts are in Riverdale, and they want the Morgan family to handle it. So, what's the move? The assistant handed out copies to the board. Everyone read the message. It was a direct order to take action, written in a tone that didn't leave any room for negotiation. Times have changed. A young man spat arrogantly. Our family's strength rivals Dragon Ascendant. Why on earth should we listen to these old men? Just ignore them. Morgan looked at him like he was an idiot, and the young man immediately shut his mouth, turning pale with fear. Morgan turned to the calm man on his left. Matthew was his grandson and clearly the most talented out of the entire bunch. He was a genius in both strategy and cultivation, already at the 8th stage of the body-tempering realm. He just smiled behind his glasses. He addressed the patriarch. Publicly, we are responsible for the Riverdale branch of the legendary Dragon Ascendant organization. Privately, Harrison is your old friend, The Morgan family has been the shadow rulers of Riverdale for years. With the city in danger, we can't just sit here. Are you crazy? The arrogant young man shouted, looking at Matthew in total disbelief. Shut up. Morgan glared at him coldly. You're done here. You are officially banned from all future meetings. Get the hell out. The young man was stunned, but didn't dare to argue. He scrambled out of the hall and quietly closed the door behind him. Matthew continued, We must take action, but only as a formality. We need to show the world the courage of the Morgan family without wasting any of our actual power. Stick with me because this political game is about to get way more dangerous than the monsters themselves. Alright, you and I are about to see how one family uses a monster to seize power. If the beast survives, the Morgans stay in control. They want to be the hidden masters of this world. This is the move. Morgan laughs, his eyes glowing with pride. Excellent. Everyone listen up and pay close attention to the new plan. Follow the instructions given by Matthew. In the future, when I am not around, everyone must obey his orders without question. Suddenly, at Riverport, a total nightmare rises from the depths. An octopus monster is tearing through the city, leaving behind a bloodbath that looks like literal purgatory. Thousands dead, and the sea is stained deep red. High above in a helicopter, Matthew Morgan, the leader of the third generation, looks down at the carnage. He cannot help but frown at the destruction. This beast is far too cruel. The helicopter circles the port, searching the waves. Finally, they spot the massive traces of the octopus on the surface. The monster is using its dozens of tentacles to feast on the corpses of the people it just slaughtered. Watching this makes Matthew's skin crawl. He takes a deep breath. Notify Squad 3, Squad 7, and Squad 9, along with the Special Task Force. Bring every firearm we have and prepare for battle. 10 minutes later, 6 fighter jets soar across the sky. This represents the hidden power the Morgan family has been building for years. A month before the spiritual energy returned, following an oracle's advice, Morgan did not just buy antiques, he stockpiled serious military hardware. He bought these 6 fighter jets. High over the sea, the planes unleash a rain of lead straight at the octopus. Sparks fly everywhere as bullets hit its skin. The octopus lashes out in pain. 2 tentacles, over 20 meters long, whip through the air like lightning, targeting the fighter jets with lethal precision. The pilots dodge with expert skill. For now, it is a stalemate. Neither side can land a finishing blow. Watching from afar, Matthew's frown deepens. Now here is where it gets interesting. Watch this move. Matthew realizes direct combat is failing, so he orders them to stop attacking and just drive it away. As long as it leaves Riverdale, the Morgans do not care who it kills next. The jets change tactics, harassing the beast until it starts to flee. Whenever the creature tries to fight back, the jets retreat. They are giving it absolutely zero chance to land a counterattack. After dozens of waves of bombardment, the octopus seems to learn. It dives deep into the ocean and swims away, finally disappearing from the Riverport area. Matthew gives the final command to withdraw. He tells them to email the capital immediately. Tell them we engaged the beast and won. Mission accomplished. The beast is gone from Riverdale. Meanwhile, in the Grand Valley, I finally emerge after 10 days of intense cultivation. Simon rushes over, his face pale. Sir, the country is in total chaos. He stares at me and my snow-white sword, his heart racing with pure terror. After just a few days of training, my power has become truly terrifying. Speak slowly, I tell him. There is no need to rush. Simon tries to calm his shaking nerves. Over the past few days, massive numbers of ferocious beasts have appeared all across the nation. Their power is insane. They even hit several of our spirit stone transport vehicles. There were no survivors from the attacks. I ask coldly, where is the nearest monster? It is a massive white beast, part wolf and part tiger. Let's be real, this creature is a complete nightmare. The Dragon Ascendant team has already lost 30 soldiers to it. Even their deputy director, Carter, has been forced to step onto the battlefield himself. Carter, I am a bit confused. In my previous life, the deputy director of that team was someone completely different. That is right, Simon continues. Carter is currently a top expert at the 9th stage of the body tempering realm. He is a national legend. I nod slowly. Tell Hugh to get the helicopter ready. Tomorrow morning, we are going to go find that beast ourselves. At the foot of Mount Tian'an, a dozen soldiers in white camouflage are crawling through the deep snow. They blend in perfectly with the frozen landscape. You would miss them if you were not looking closely. Their leader, Carter, crouches low with a solemn expression, a quiver strapped to his back. Moving through the snowy forest, Carter is incredibly careful. He peeks out and sees the beast gnawing on a fresh corpse just a short distance away. His heart hammers against his ribs. He raises a hand, signaling his team to stop their advance immediately. The soldiers are all at the 6th stage of power. They crouch in unison, holding their breath and drawing weapons. Carter gestures for them to take cover. Everyone hide. It is eating right now, so its guard is down. This is the only chance we have to strike. It is 80 meters away. Intelligence says its speed is terrifying. We only have 4 seconds to make our move. Carter starts assigning roles now. Everyone grips their weapons tight, moving into position. Carter whispers the command, 3, 2, 1, go. As the countdown ends, Carter shoots forward like an arrow, sprinting across the snow. The quiver on his back opens, revealing a glowing giant's sword. He grips the hilt with both hands, radiating pure murderous intent as he charges the beast head-on. A marksman begins firing his assault rifle, peppered the beast's back with bullets. The rest of the team moves in, and gunshots echo through the forest. The bullets hit the target perfectly, but the sound is like metal hitting steel. They cannot penetrate the fur at all. The entire magazine just bounces off. Carter is horrified. The intelligence was wrong. This thing is way tougher than they said. We have to retreat immediately. He and a soldier trained in the iron shirt technique stand together to block the beast. Carter spins, swinging his massive sword in a horizontal arc. The soldiers do not retreat. Their leader is already 80 meters deep in the fight. He reached the beast in less than 8 seconds. Distracted by the bullets, the beast turns its head. It opens its bloody mouth and lets out a roar that shatters their focus. Snow flies everywhere as Carter's blade strikes the beast's leg. And that's where we leave it, trust me. You and I are going to want to see what's next. A bone-chilling strike rings out with the force of a 9th stage master. But get this, it was a total failure. The beast didn't even flinch. Carter screams for a defense, and the soldier beside him instantly throws his hand into the air. A massive golden shield forms around them like a sacred bell, but the monster doesn't care. Its mountain-sized body leaps meters into the cold air. Paws thick as barrels smash down with devastating weight. That supposedly unbreakable shield, it shatters into a million golden pieces in a second. The young soldier is sent flying through the air, spitting blood before crashing down, knocked out cold by the pure impact of the blow. Carter tries to block with his blade, but he is sent sliding backward, coughing up blood as his face turns a ghostly shade of white. A dozen soldiers open fire with their rifles, but the beast just walks through the lead storm, completely ignoring the hail of bullets. Desperate, Carter pulls out a folding fan. Black smoke erupts from the artifact, flowing into his veins and rapidly stitching his broken body together. This fan is a legendary heirloom with terrifying roots. Carter stands back up, his eyes bloodshot, staring down the creature with pure murderous intent. In this new world of spiritual energy, the fan became a god-tier artifact, boosting him all the way to the 9th stage of power. He was the nation's top genius, leading an elite squad into this city to hunt the rampaging monster and claim the ultimate glory. But glory was a lie. The beast is stronger than anyone dreamed, nearly killing our elite leader with just a single, effortless swipe. The monster ignores Carter and charges the squad. In seconds, 2 soldiers are ripped apart. Carter screams in absolute rage at the sight. Now, pay attention here. Carter unleashes the fan, and black energy pours out like a tsunami of death, charging directly at the savage monster. His power peaks, breaking through to the vein, forming realm. The beast slowly turns its massive head, looking at him with nothing but boredom. It roars and lunges. Carter spins his fan into a black tornado of steel, but the beast just walks right through the storm unharmed. One massive headbutt sends Carter soaring through the air like a broken ragdoll. He slams into the cliffside with a sickening thud. His power vanishes, the fan drops, and he's left dying while the beast continues the slaughter. Even with no hope, the soldiers don't run. One man straps a bundle of grenades to his chest and charges, pulling the pins to bring them down together. A massive explosion rocks the mountain, burying everything in fire and thick, choking dust. The soldiers wait, staring into the smoke. Carter can only watch with red eyes as tears stream down his face at the absolute loss. But as the dust settles, the monster crawls out from the snow and dirt. It is completely fine, not a single scratch on it. Pure despair washes over the elite squad. This power isn't just strong, it is an insurmountable mountain that no human can climb. Carter closes his eyes as the beast approaches. His heart turns cold, praying his country survives this monster. Suddenly, the thunderous sound of helicopter rotors cuts through the sky. Everyone looks up, clinging to one final, desperate shred of hope for their survival. A cabin door swings open at high altitude. A lone figure steps out and simply jumps into the abyss without a second thought. And yeah, that's me. I'm fresh out of cultivation and looking for a fight. I land like a meteor, cratering the snow right in front of the beast. Carter is stunned. I have no fear on my face. My energy is quiet, but the air around me feels absolutely invincible. He realizes instantly that this young man might actually be strong enough to go toe-to-toe with the mountain-sized beast. I don't say a single word. I just leap into the air and bury my fist into the monster's skull, sending 12 tons of meat flying back into the snow. Blood sprays and a massive tooth snaps off. Carter watches in shock as I do what the whole squad couldn't. Rifles and grenades did nothing, but I just crippled it with one punch. I look at my hand and shake my head with total disappointment. Too weak. The surviving soldiers stare at me, like I've lost my mind after seeing me manhandle a literal titan. The beast tries to stand back up, trembling in fear. I don't give it a chance. I launch into the air and stomp down with both feet. The sound of snapping bones echoes across the cliff. The monster is crushed back into the dirt, pinned down by my weight alone. It roars, whipping its tail like a steel chain at my head in a last-ditch effort to kill me. The soldiers try to warn me, but I don't even look back. I just swing my arm and swat the attack away like a fly. I sit on its back and start raining down punches. 1, 2, 3, each blow sounds like a cannon firing into the ground. The beast slumps, taking its last breath. 3 punches. That's all it took, and I'm still feeling pretty unsatisfied. This thing was in the divine treasury realm with insane speed, but it was just a mindless animal. In my past life, 15 years of training wouldn't have been enough to survive this. But now, I finished a world-class threat in just 3 hits. This power is finally starting to feel right. Honestly, I'm actually a little satisfied with the results. I pull out my frost-pierced sword, cut open the beast's belly, and pull out a glowing red inner core. It's the size of a fist and perfect. This inner core is the real prize. It can unlock a person's true potential and boost their strength to levels most only dream of. So, that's where we leave it. I tell the team to call in a truck for the body and walk away without looking back. Alright, you and I are about to see how a real powerhouse handles a rescue mission. As a soldier runs over to thank him, the main character just turns back with a puzzled look, cutting the man's gratitude short. I only came here to kill the beast. Your lives have absolutely nothing to do with me, so don't bother thanking me. I do not care about your organization or who you are. He simply waves his hand, stopping the soldier from speaking. Then he steps into the cabin, boards the helicopter, and leaves the area immediately. The soldier is left standing there in awkward silence. Soon after, the survivors begin treating their injured comrades and calling for emergency ambulances to arrive at the scene. Soon, the official rescue team takes the squad away, while a truck arranged by Simon pulls up. A 100-ton crane hoists the massive beast onto the flatbed to transport it back to the Grand Valley. Now, pay attention to the shadows, because a hidden figure was watching this entire fight from the canopy of a tree. This spy in black is trembling uncontrollably as sweat pours down his face. He realizes that even if his young master arrives, they would be completely useless against such a terrifying man. He tries to run and report to his elders, but his legs are literally paralyzed from pure terror. He is too horrified to even move a single muscle. The man takes deep breaths to calm his racing heart, but then a freezing voice cuts through the air, asking him why he cannot walk. The spy freezes as cold sweat trickles down his back. He struggles to turn his head and sees a young man on a nearby tree, carrying a long sword and looking at him with a deadly smile. Need my help? Based on my previous life, I already know this guy is from the Autumn Mountain 100 Demon Path, a massive northern faction made up of half-human, half-demon monsters. They have been waiting for the nation to weaken so they can invade and conquer the 9 provinces with their dark power. In the end, countless warriors would engage in fierce battles with them, but right now, the spy is just trying to find a way to stall for time. Knowing he cannot escape, he tries to wait for help. He is sure his patriarch saw the battle through a special item and will send reinforcements to his location immediately. If he can just send a signal, he might have a chance. He reaches into his robe to grab his device, but his expression suddenly turns pale. His pocket is empty. Looking for this? I pull a red signaling candle out of my own pocket and show it to him. The spy feels like he has fallen into a pit of ice. He struggles to look up at me, whispering a single question: how did I even take it? Then, realization hits him like a truck. He looks absolutely terrified, wondering how I could possibly know his true secret identity. This demon was a master of stealth and a trusted confidant of the Elder, yet I stole his signaling device without him even noticing. It was a level of skill he could not believe. You saw that coming, right? Instead of answering the spy, the main character suddenly draws his sword for the final kill. A cold sword aura flashes with freezing intent, slicing right across his neck. As blood flows out, it is instantly turned into white ice by the sheer power of the strike. The demon's eyes go wide as he falls from the tree, clutching his throat. I board the helicopter and head straight back to the Grand Valley. Upon arrival, everyone looks at me with eyes full of worship. This time, it is not about the money I paid them, it is genuine, deep respect. At the foot of the mountain, the 30-foot-tall beast carcass has already been hung up by the people living in the valley. They look at the massive body with greed, but nobody dares to touch it. They know this legendary prey belongs only to me. The meat of a divine treasury realm beast is packed with energy, making it perfect for cultivation, even though it is mostly useless to me now. I tell them to divide the meat among themselves so everyone gets a portion. We will use the skin and fur to forge powerful equipment later. Clean the skin and dry it on the mountain. I give the simple instructions and then prepare to head back into my secluded cultivation. My body is brimming with spiritual energy that feels like it could overflow. Sir, eating this meat will make us all so much stronger. Simon is ecstatic and immediately buys 3 truckloads of beer and 100 grills. He plans to host a massive outdoor barbecue tonight to celebrate the victory, sending the crowd into a cheering frenzy. Their loyalty toward me reaches an all-time high as I prepare for my next major breakthrough in the realm. Back at the Grand Valley, I eat 3 whole roasted pigs and drink 10 large glasses of juice before feeling full. After preparing himself, he sits down in the valley to begin his deep cultivation. Reaching the divine treasury realm requires more than just raw power. It takes deep comprehension and focusing on the potential of your internal organs. He takes the inner core retrieved from the beast out of his pocket and swallows it whole without any hesitation. This is the key to maximizing his body's potential. The inner core dissolves into streams of vital energy that circulate through his entire body, carrying an incredible amount of spiritual power. In his mind, the Bodhi tree appears once again, sucking up all that raw energy and refining it into something even purer. A cool sensation washes over his eyes as the spiritual energy begins to impact and reform his vision into something superhuman. Unlike the painful heart modification from before, this feels incredibly comfortable as his eyes are upgraded by the surging energy. When the energy finally dissipates, he opens his eyes and realizes he can clearly see a tiny ant on a cliff 200 meters away. This vision boost is insane. Breakthrough complete. I have reached the second stage of the divine treasury realm and acquired the legendary skill Eagle Eye. The voice in my head is a welcome sound. In my past life, acquiring a skill like this was considered nearly impossible for most people. Out of over 1 billion people, barely anyone who reached the 9th stage even had one skill, let alone getting one this early. Now that is what I call unparalleled luck. Trust me, we are only just getting started. 10 minutes later, his kidneys begin to transform. Breakthrough achieved. I have now officially reached the 3rd stage of the divine treasury realm. Alright, you and I are about to witness one man's climb from the bottom to absolute godhood. This new skill is a total game changer. With unyielding, there is a 15% chance he will ignore all damage completely. His eyes burn with gold light. He has already surpassed his peak from his previous life, 15 whole years early. With his past life debts on his mind, he is ready to collect every single one of them, step by step. His new Eagle Eye skill is basically built-in binoculars. It gives him 100-fold magnification, making him the ultimate long-range predator. As for that immunity skill, honestly, he hasn't even found an opponent strong enough to actually test it yet. He remembers the past. The moment the beasts arrived, the great families betrayed the country. It was total, bloody chaos. There are less than 2 months left on the clock. When the time comes, Arthur is going to start hunting. His eyes flash with cold, murderous intent. His men are moving spirit stones, but the enemy is still lurking. The great families are just waiting for the perfect chance to strike a fatal blow. But Arthur is ready. Word just came in that the Grey family is bragging. They claim to have the nation's first vein-forming powerhouse. Since nobody is arguing, it means the world's strongest cultivators are still barely scratching the surface. Arthur is miles ahead. Deep in the Earth's core, the lava begins to boil over. The scorching heat is intense, washing over him like fire. Watching the magma surge, he realizes the timing is perfect. It is finally time to forge a legendary new weapon. Now pay attention, because this is where it gets crazy. He tosses in the Millennium Lightning Wood and a dragon rope. The wood melts into the magma. Blue lightning arcs begin to dance and crackle, fighting against the heat of the lava. But when that dragon vein hits the fire, everything changes. A massive pillar of lava shoots 6 meters into the air. A black, 5-clawed divine dragon phantom appears, letting out a roar that shakes the entire valley. It is absolutely terrifying. This dragon vein is no joke. Even as a simple rope, it still holds the divine power of an ancient legend. The magma drags the materials deep underground. 10 minutes pass before things finally calm down. Arthur can feel the power. A glowing blue bow floats to the surface. It is 6 feet long, covered in ancient runes, with lightning slithering across it like a snake. This thing is definitely not a mortal weapon. Hovering there, sparkling with divine light, he knows he just hit the jackpot. This weapon is definitely not a mortal item. The lightning god bow is born. Arthur reaches out and grips the weapon, feeling an ancient aura flood his entire body. Knowledge of the bow is burned into his brain. It doesn't need skills, it just needs raw, spiritual energy to fire. He smiles, knowing his energy reserves are bottomless. Meanwhile, 12 cloaked figures are gathering around a dark, underground table. You and I both know this can't be good. Their leader speaks up. It is finally time for them to move. But a voice interrupts him. There is a problem. Someone is standing in their way, and he might stop their lord. There is a man in the north. He has forged a divine weapon and reached the divine treasury realm already. He controls the major factions and even took the swords from King Arthur's tomb. His name? It is Arthur. The leader tells them to notify the 10 families. They are going to hunt Arthur down in the Grand Valley. Back with our hero, Simon gives him the report. The nation is being overrun by monsters and the soldiers are losing. The situation is basically a total disaster. Arthur just listens, remaining completely calm as he hears the news. The beasts are appearing faster and in greater numbers than before. Thousands are dying every single day. It is a nightmare. Unless a top-tier powerhouse leads the charge, there is zero hope. The country is reaching its absolute breaking point. The government is under massive pressure. Every military unit is deployed, but they still can't stop the tide of monsters. Some leaders even suggested using nuclear weapons. They are desperate, but they haven't given up on the cultivators yet. If those cultivators can just level up fast enough, these beasts won't stand a chance. It is a race for survival. Arthur calls his men in. He has one simple question for them. Where are the most ferocious beasts located? He needs those beast cores to unlock his potential. His team is stunned. Normally, people run away from these things. Even the powerful Morgan family is hiding, afraid to face the monsters head-on. But Arthur is going on the offensive. His man points to the north. There is a pack of ferocious beasts there causing absolute carnage for the military. Arthur doesn't hesitate. He tells them to get the helicopter ready. They are heading straight into the heart of danger. He gears up, strapping his legendary sword and that massive lightning god bow to his back. He looks like a god. Hacking 10 high-quality spirit stones for the trip, he hops into the bird and flies toward the northern defense camp. He is ready for war. And trust me, you and I are about to see what happens when a real hunter hits the field. Alright, you and I are watching a nightmare unfold as over a dozen ferocious beasts charge the camp. The commander is absolutely terrified. Scouts reported no beasts within a 20-mile radius this morning. The experts said this place was safe, far from any attacks. They were dead wrong. Instead, the beasts are launching a coordinated frontal assault, like a hidden puppet master is pulling all the strings. Backup is 10 minutes away, but they do not have 10 minutes. The order is given, and total firepower explodes as the monsters finally hit machine gun range. Hundreds of guns unleash tens of thousands of bullets into the charging swarm. Only 10 seconds in, a 10-meter beast with massive antlers leaps like lightning, breaching the line. One swipe sends soldiers flying in a horrific spray of blood and flesh. The commander roars, drawing a mountain-cleaving blade. His energy explodes as he leads a dozen 7th-stage body-tempering warriors into the fray. They draw their long blades and charge, their murderous intent shaking the very heavens. But even with their numbers, they cannot stop a single beast. More monsters are swarming the position. Everything is falling apart fast. Men fall every second. The commander is desperate. Only 2 minutes have passed. With 8 minutes left, how can they possibly survive? Now pay attention, because here is where the real show starts. A helicopter appears, and a young man carrying a bow and sword jumps down from 100 meters up. Dressed in black, he slams into the ground like a live artillery shell, leaving a massive crater where he lands. The commander hopes this is the military backup he needed. The commotion of my landing is so violent that both soldiers and beasts freeze mid-combat. Every eye is on me. Facing a dozen monsters, I decide to end this fight right now. I slowly draw the Heaven's Punishment Lightning God bow. Instantly, the air crackles with terrifying energy as my eagle eye skill locks onto the first target. A 40-meter-long python stares me down. Seeing my gaze, it hisses and lunges forward with incredible speed. I channel my energy and pull the string. Suddenly, the sky turns black, clouds billow, and a massive lightning bolt tears through the heavens. The soldiers are paralyzed by this celestial phenomenon. Even the commander stares blankly, unable to wrap his head around this level of power. Who can change the weather just by drawing a bow? I pull it back to a full moon and finally let go. A 4-meter-long blue light arrow, thick as an arm, screams through the air, followed by an earth-shattering explosion. The arrow finds its mark, obliterating the python into bloody fragments that rain from the sky. Its black inner core flies into the air. I snatch the core mid-air and bag it, already searching for the next kill. Seeing their leader shredded, the remaining beasts panic, turning around to flee in a desperate scramble. This young man radiates terrifying, soul-crushing pressure. He is an absolutely invincible force of nature. You and I saw the army struggle, but for him, these monsters that defied 50,000 soldiers are now running for their lives. They are running from a single cultivator. A frown. Since I am already here, do you really think you can escape? I leap onto the defensive wall, lock onto a fleeing target, and fire. The arrow hits like a meteor, causing a deafening explosion that blows another beast to absolute pieces. The rest of them run even faster now. Since I have not mastered any movement techniques yet, it is hard to catch them on foot. I wave to my pilot, Hugh, and hop back onto the helicopter to give chase. The commander finally snaps out of it and runs over to ask my name, but I ignore him. 1,000 soldiers watch in total shock as we take off to chase them. 5 minutes later, the actual backup arrives. An Air Force major leads over 50 fighter jets into a completely empty zone, demanding to know where the monsters went. The commander and his men explain the impossible thing they just witnessed. The major stands there, his mind racing. This story is way beyond his understanding. You mean one kid repelled a whole pack and is now hunting them down in a helicopter? The major is furious, thinking he's being played for a complete fool. The commander snaps back. Major, you can doubt my words, but do not you dare insult that young hero. 1,000 witnesses are right here. Just look down at your feet. The major looks down, picking up a piece of scorched snakeskin as his scalp goes numb. He remembers the general's orders to find the hero who killed a beast near Tenshin with just 3 punches. It seems that besides his fists, this legend also carries a divine bow. The Major has an epiphany and shouts, "Which way did he go?" "North." The Major dons his helmet, jumps into his jet, and hits the radio. "Brothers, head north. We need to find our hero." I am tailing the monsters north at top speed. We catch up quickly, but a brand new problem starts to slow me down. Killing them is easy, but having to jump down, kill the beast, and then climb back into the chopper to retrieve the inner cores is wasting way too much time. If only I had reached the heavenly origin realm and could fly on my own, this would be so much easier. After slaying another deer antler beast and taking its core, Hugh keeps the helicopter pushing hard toward the north. I have 4 divine treasury cores in my bag now, enough to reach the peak of my power. Suddenly, Hugh's radar detects over 50 nation fighter jets closing in fast on our current position. I tell Hugh to ignore them and keep the hunt going, but the jets close in and send an urgent communication request. "Stick with me, this is where the hero finally makes contact." Hugh asks if he should connect. I nod, and the radio crackles to life. "All right, stick with me. You and I are about to witness a regular man become a literal god today." Major Aaron offers the deepest respects of the Northern Defense Corps. But for our main character, this talking is just a massive waste of time. He cuts the connection immediately. Hugh shuts off the radio and keeps chasing those beasts. It rings again. Hugh looks over, and our lead just gives a cold, sharp nod of approval. This time, they skip the small talk. Aaron practically begs him to join Northern Defense. "Name your rank, any position is yours." The hero shuts it down instantly. Silence follows. Aaron pivots, admitting their helicopters can't match the speed of fighter jets. He just wants to know how to help. He says assisting a hero is the ultimate honor. Hugh turns around with a look of pure confusion. This isn't how the military usually acts. The Northern Defense is elite, and their general is known for being arrogant. So why is a major being so incredibly respectful to him now? After thinking it over, our hero looks at the beasts scattering below and realizes it is a real headache. He asks if they can herd the monsters like sheepdogs. Hugh's mouth actually twitches. That's a bold way to talk to a high-ranking Air Force officer. Suddenly, a confident voice comes through. "No problem at all. Rest assured. We guarantee the mission will be accomplished." Aaron doesn't care about his pride. As long as he can serve the hero, he would bark like a dog if that is what it took. Now, watch this carefully. The fighter jets split into 3 teams, firing a wall of lead to trap the monsters in one single direction. The hero opens the cabin door and pulls his bow. Normally, jet fire doesn't scare these things, but right now, they look like terrified little birds. A single twang of his bowstring sends them into a panic. They stop scattering and start sprinting exactly where the military wants them to go. Major Aaron reports that 3 sides are locked down. The Northern Defense Air Force has completely cut off every single escape route. There is a massive 1,000-meter high cliff, just 3 kilometers to the north. Aaron knows they have absolutely nowhere left to run. Minutes later, the beasts hit the wall. They slow down, growl, and look up to see a figure descending from the sky like a nightmare. He jumps from 100 meters up and draws the blade Frost Pierce. Every step he takes feels like the arrival of a god of death. At 200 meters, he charges. Murderous intent explodes as he rips into a pack of divine treasury realm beasts. It isn't a fight, it is a slaughter. An alpha beast with antlers tries to stand its ground, but looking into its eyes, you can see nothing but pure despair. It charges with a flash of light. He swings his sword once, shearing off those steel antlers and ending its life in a heartbeat. He doesn't stop. A massive crescent of energy sweeps through the field. The beasts don't even have time to defend before they are sliced open. Fresh blood hits the ground and freezes instantly, turning into white smoke. A whole row of monsters falls at the same time. He leaps high and stabs a giant boar-like creature with a reverse grip. The massive beast is pinned to the earth like a common bug. The battle is over in seconds. You and I are seeing a power that shouldn't exist. A dozen high-level monsters wiped out before they could even react. The setting sun turns everything blood red. Arthur stands tall amidst the carnage, looking like a terrifying god of slaughter from ancient legends. The pilots in the sky are frozen in shock, barely controlling their planes. They are watching a living horror story. Meanwhile, our hero is just busy collecting cores. Once his bag is full, he signals the pilot. Hugh brings the helicopter down and drops several more large bags for the loot. He stuffs every bag to the brim. He looks calm on the outside, but inside, he is incredibly satisfied with this massive harvest of power. The 50 fighter jets land nearby. As our lead heads back to his helicopter, Major Aaron sprints over to catch him before he leaves. The Major calls out for him to wait. Arthur turns around with a cold, calm expression. Aaron takes a breath to hide his absolute shock. He asks for the hero's name. When he hears Arthur, Aaron freezes. He remembers that name from the news after the spiritual energy revival began. The famous business genius who sold his empire and became a spoiled brat. He can't believe that man is the same god of slaughter standing here. The major looks at him with pure admiration and bows deep. To the Northern Defense, Arthur is no longer a businessman. He is the savior of the whole nation. He offers the sincere thanks of the entire corps, but our hero just waves his hand, his expression as cold as ice. He tells them he didn't do it to save them. He doesn't care about the military, but if anyone invades his home, he will make them pay. The soldiers stand at attention and salute as he leaves. He doesn't even look back, boarding his helicopter and vanishing into the horizon. Aaron is buzzing with excitement. He rushes back to report the news to the general. Northern Defense has finally found its savior. With this guardian deity on their side, why would they ever fear monsters or invaders again? The heavy, 1,000-pound burden on his heart has finally vanished as he rushes to report this to the general. Back at the Grand Valley, he goes straight into seclusion. Things are changing way faster than in his previous life. Divine treasury monsters are appearing in just 1 month. In his last life, it took 3. The world is getting more dangerous by the day. The threat level is off the charts. He knows the only way to solve this is to increase his strength at a record-breaking pace. He enters the secret chamber and starts consuming the inner cores. With all his past experience, he processes the energy faster than ever before. In just 5 minutes, spiritual energy begins to violently attack his lungs. The pain is absolutely brutal. The Bodic Tree repairs his body as he breaks through to stage 4. Trust me, you and I are about to see him reach a whole new level. Stick with me, you are about to watch our main character hit the fast-forward button on godhood. His cultivation speed, 100 times faster than any normal human. In his past life, even the top geniuses needed a whole month for a single breakthrough. Now, he is leaving those supposed prodigies in the dust. A 5-minute breakthrough is his new reality. No new skills this time, so he keeps slamming down inner cores and spirit stones like candy. After a few deep breaths, he realizes the 5th stage is still out of reach. 1 inner core just is not enough to break the barrier. He swallows another. Spiritual energy explodes inside him, pushing him to the absolute peak of the 4th stage, but he is still just a hair short of crossing over. Cursing under his breath, he grits his teeth and forces down a 3rd inner core. The energy floodgates open. Power surges through his veins as those 3 cores finally let him touch the barrier of the 5th stage of the Divine Treasury realm. The spiritual energy begins remodeling his liver, aligning perfectly with the vitality of the Bodhi tree. It is a wood element match made in heaven, which means a smooth process. 10 minutes later, without a hint of pain, the barrier finally shatters into a million pieces. He is officially at the 5th stage. He unlocks the Endless Life skill, allowing him to rapidly heal any non-fatal wounds instantly. It is a once-a-day trump card that scales with his level. Combining this with 15% damage immunity, he is feeling absolutely ecstatic about his chances. As long as he stays smart, he is basically invincible. But to upgrade these skills, he needs a super rare medicinal herb from his memories. Since he does not know where to find it yet, his skills are staying at level 1 for now. He pivots back to raw power. Consuming the rest of the cores, he refines his vital organs and senses, skyrocketing straight to the 7th stage of the realm. He stands up, eyes flashing with golden light, but his stomach lets out a massive roar. He slowly walks out of the secret chamber, looking for a meal. Simon is ready, bringing 10 people and 100 pounds of beef. Our main character dives in, eating like he has been starved for years. Simon drops the bombshell. The Morgan family has rallied 9 other major clans, and all 10 of them are coming for our main character's mines. Now, pay attention, because the wolves are starting to circle. He just stays calm, eating his fill on the sofa. In Winston City, the Morgans incited a riot that Dave had to crush. At the Whitestone mine, cultivators from the great families are already acting like scouts, lurking in the shadows. Down at the South Mine, Matthew Morgan personally flew a helicopter over the site, dropping threats that the mine would soon be his. It is clear that the 10 great families are fully mobilized, infiltrating his territory and trying to seize everything he owns while he was busy training. Spies are everywhere, and they think he is too distracted to care. They really are pushing their luck this time. He tells Simon to send a message to Morgan. Tell him if he makes one more move, the entire Morgan family will be wiped off the face of the earth. He sounds so calm, like he is just talking about the weather. Then, he stops and decides to add one more thing. Tell him that in 3 days, Arthur is coming to Riverdale, and he should prepare himself to receive a very special, very grand gift from me personally. Simon feels a chill down his spine. He remembers just how terrifying Arthur used to be in the business world, and he knows things are about to get bloody. Over at the Morgan estate, the atmosphere is heavy with pure anxiety. The core members have gathered because the mysterious oracle has just handed down a direct order for an execution. I know what you are thinking. Who is this oracle pulling the strings from the shadows? This mysterious figure predicted the spiritual energy revival 3 months ago. Thanks to that heads up, the Morgans have been stockpiling treasures and prepping their young geniuses for war. They have made incredible progress, with 4 people already reaching the vein-forming realm. To them, the oracle is a godlike benefactor, and they will obey any command given without a single second of hesitation. Eliminating Arthur is not just an order, it is something they have been dying to do anyway. The patriarch asks the young leader, Matthew, to speak his mind. He looks calm, but you can see the worry deep in the old man's eyes. Matthew says the oracle is right. Arthur is a calamity that needs to be snuffed out. He stole their bronze swords and their minds, making this an all-out blood feud. There is no room for peace anymore. It is either the Morgans or Arthur. One of them has to go. Matthew is the family's heavy hitter, currently at the third stage of the vein-forming realm. He is sharp, resourceful, and the patriarch has total trust in his word. He assumes the other families got the same order. He bets that Arthur is at the vein-forming realm at most, which gives them the advantage. With 10 great families joining forces, Matthew thinks their chances of winning are through the roof. It seems like a guaranteed victory for them. The patriarch just nods with a cold, contemptuous smile. He thinks he has the upper hand here. He shares Arthur's message about wiping the family out. For a second, the room goes dead silent before Matthew bursts into a fit of mocking, arrogant laughter. The Morgan family has over 1,300 years of history. No one has ever dared to threaten them like this, and the patriarch's words light a fire of pure rage. Everyone is boiling over, ready to tear Arthur apart. The patriarch is satisfied. Unity is exactly what they need for the coming fight. Once they calm down, he reminds them that Arthur is coming in 3 days with his grand gift. He tells everyone they better perform perfectly when the moment finally arrives. He dismisses the group but tells Matthew to stay behind. The others leave looking confused, wondering why the young leader is being singled out. Once they are alone, the patriarch gets serious. Arthur has been moving truckloads of spirit stones and artifacts. His power level might be way higher than they are letting on. Trust me, you and I are not going to want to miss a single second of what happens next. Matthew just smiles. Alright, you and I are about to watch the most arrogant power move in Manhwa history. 3 days later, I land in Riverdale ready for war. With the legendary frost-pierced bow strapped to my back, I head straight for the Morgan building like I own the place. The streets are a ghost town. The old bustle is gone, and I can't help but sigh. At the Morgan building entrance, a dozen punks swarm out to block my path. Tattoos, dyed hair, and trendy clothes. These punks actually think they have what it takes to stand in my way. It is almost funny. Some kid in a jacket steps up, acting all tough. I just laugh. Did old Ghost Morgan really send this pile of garbage to annoy me? It is pathetic. I'll count to 3. Get lost. They just laugh, thinking their 7th stage body-tempering realm makes them invincible. They have no idea what is coming. They don't move an inch. I ignore their smug faces and start the countdown. 3, 2, 1. I lunge forward and throw a single, devastating punch. The lead punk literally turns into a mist of blood. One punch obliterated an 8th stage cultivator. The rest of them are paralyzed with terror. I don't give them a second to breathe. 1 punch per person. 10 seconds later, the street is cleared. Absolute carnage. Another group rushes out, weapons drawn and eyes full of fear. A 2-meter-tall giant steps forward, screaming about me killing innocents in broad daylight. Does he really think the law matters here? I wipe the blood off my face and give him a cold stare. I'll count to 3. Seeing what I did to the others, the crowd parts like the Red Sea. I walk to the reception desk and give the girl a charming smile. Now, watch this. Even my coffee break is high stakes. I have an appointment at 9 a.m. sharp. I hope that elevator is fast. Don't waste my time. The girl turns pale, forcing a terrified smile as she leads me to the express elevator. Floor 105. We're going up. 20 seconds later, the doors open to a massive luxury office. 60 people are staring me down, but I couldn't care less. I'm here. There he is. Silver hair, eagle eyes. Old man Morgan. He welcomes me like we're best friends, pretending he isn't shaking behind that desk. You must be exhausted from your journey, he says. He plays the perfect host, acting like he didn't just send a hit squad to kill me. A bunch of trash tried to greet me, but they're in pieces now. I sit down, throw my boots on his round table, and look him right in the eye. Listen, old ghost, I know you've been planting spies and inciting riots at my mines. I'm not here to talk, I'm here to collect. Hand over the 5 Riverdale mines, 100 billion in cash, and give me Matthew. Do that, and maybe I won't burn this whole place down. My attitude is beyond arrogant. Morgan has never been humiliated like this in his entire life. His heart is boiling with rage as he frantically searches for an escape. Suddenly, a young punk from the family jumps up. Who do you think you are, Arthur? You've got guts coming here. Fight me one-on-one. 2nd stage vein-forming realm. Completely pathetic. I don't even look at him. I don't fight trash. I say coldly, get lost. You and I both know calling a top-tier genius trash is the ultimate flex. The whole room is insulted. They actually think he is special. Fine, I'll teach you a lesson for everyone. The kid steps out, energy boiling as his muscles bulge. He thinks he's about to be a hero. He sneers and cracks his neck as the crowd makes room. In a blur of motion, he lunges forward, swinging a fierce chop aimed at my head. An explosion of power echoes through the room, everyone gasps. But while they're watching him, I just calmly pick up a cigar from the table. I flick the cigar like a bullet. It pierces his forehead instantly. He freezes like lightning struck him, then collapses. Stone, cold, dead. 60 people are frozen in pure horror. Morgan's lips are trembling. I just killed a second-stage vein-forming cultivator with a literal cigar. Unbelievable. Is he in the divine treasury realm? Morgan's face turns pale. He's finally realizing that opposing me was the biggest mistake of his life. The other 9 families are shaking in their seats. This is your genius? I grab the kid's corpse and toss it right at Morgan's feet. I am here to test your strength. Then, another kid at the 4th stage steps out, ignoring Matthew's frantic signals. He roars, fueled by pure, reckless pride. His entire body radiates vital energy as he draws a massive saber. His eyes are bloodshot with pure, blinding rage. I spot a jade pendant on his neck glowing with divine aura. That little artifact is clearly giving him false courage. I just sit back and sip my coffee. He's more careful than the last guy, circling me from a few meters away. Then, he roars, swinging his blade with enough momentum to level a mountain. In the next second, I wave my left hand. A ripple of spiritual power shatters his saber light like it was made of glass. The blade snaps, but the force doesn't stop. It slices right across his own neck. His eyes widen as he falls, a thin line of blood appearing. The only sound in the office is rapid heartbeats. One move to kill a 4th stage cultivator with a high-level protection artifact. He was supposedly a genius, but to me, just a child. Old Ghost Morgan, I'll give you exactly 3 seconds to think this over carefully. My gaze is oppressive as I start the countdown. Morgan, the king of Riverdale who dominated for decades, doesn't even have the courage to open his mouth. Fine, I agree. Morgan forces the words out, slumping onto his sofa like a broken man. His entire body is weak and trembling with absolute fear. I finish my coffee and smile. Excellent. Wouldn't it have been much easier if we just started this way from the beginning? My assistant will handle the rest of the details. The coffee was actually pretty good. Thanks for being such a great host. I grab my trench coat and walk out without looking back. Once I'm gone, Morgan just sits there, staring blankly out the window into nothingness. So what do you and I take from this? When Arthur counts to 3, you better start running. The other families remain silent, knowing their turn is coming soon. Stick with me. You are about to see Matthew scan the room with a respectful but fierce gaze, ready to call in the real monsters. Stop holding back. Call in every favor. The Oracle is about to reveal everything the moment those people finally arrive. So what if Arthur is in the divine treasury realm? Morgan and the 9 great patriarchs share a look, a tiny flicker of hope in their dying eyes. As the crowd leaves, Morgan watches the youth with a soul-crushing weight of pure exhaustion pulling at his heart. Matthew, head to the Grand Valley to wait for instructions. He won't dare touch you for now. The patriarch just wants some much-needed peace and quiet. Now, pay attention. The handover with the Morgan family went perfectly. The 5 mines are ours, and our team arrives on site this afternoon. Matthew is bound at the Grand Valley. Per your orders, spirit-locking shackles prevent him from using even a single drop of energy. $100 billion in cash just hit the account, trust me. You and I are just getting started with this legendary, high-stakes game of shadows and power.